Hello. Good evening. Welcome. Oh, for the first time ever, the preview player didn't die. This could well mean I'm not live at all, you know. But if you're there, you can let me know whether I am or not. I will be in the chat with you in a couple of seconds. In the meanwhile, say hello to me.
Hello to you.
Thank you, Mike. Oh, now I've just said URL and I meant domain.
I don't hear you.
No. No.
Oh, yes. Hang on.
I'm there.
Roger's in. Roger's in.
Hello, Roger.
Hi, Roger.
I'll be with you in 1 second. That's what I want.
There we go. I can hear you.
Don't suspend domain. That's what I want. And I want to view on the watch page. And then I can see the chat. Awesome. Awesome. Chat. Where have you gone? No, don't hide chat. Show me the chat. Hello. We try to keep it to a Friday, Roger. We do. Hello, guys. Hello, Andres, Graham, Jonathan. We try to keep it to a Friday, but if you follow us on social media, you'll know what we were up to last night. And if you don't follow us on social media, not to worry. I will inform you of our adventures this week very shortly.
Mama.
Oh,
just killed a man.
Here we go. You've got a shrewd idea,
Put a
haven't you?
gun against his head. Pulled my trigger, now he's dead.
You do realise they can hear every word now.
I know
You've
they
got a
can.
microphone. and if you were that good, we'd be kicked off.
Bonjour, David.
Hello. Beaming on the Apple TV.
Tuna steak salad.
Oh, nice.
How healthy.
Nice, yeah. I've not been bad today.
No, we were good today.
We were goodish today. Yesterday, different story. What can I say? Right, I better make sure that I've got everything set. Because you know when you've got 1,000,001 things to do and you forget the one. Right, I need to quit drop shelf because that pops up and annoys me.
So go on, Graham. What did you buy this week?
Oh, what's Graham got? What's Graham got?
Something that you cost him money.
Did I cost you money?
You cost him money.
Whoa! I didn't even know I'd cost you money. Oh, let me think. No, I don't know. Tell me. Tell me. I wonder if it was a lot of money. I do try and throw in the odd cost-effective item, don't I? I do. Oh, I'm flummoxed now. What did I do? Oh, I did talk about the camera. You didn't buy a camera, did you, Graham? Right, I think I've sorted everything.
Probably a piece of software. What did you recommend last week?
Oh, I don't know. This is what I'm saying. This is so exciting to me because you know when you order something from Amazon, you can't remember what it is. Then it arrives. That's me. It's like Christmas.
Three-way cables, the red ones.
Oh,
the cables. Three-way cables.
Nice to know that Graham's paying attention when you're not. The three-way cable that enabled you to have lightning, USB-C.
Oh, those, yeah. Those.
And what I call a Kindle cable, but a USB, whatever. Excellent,
right,
Graham.
What am I doing here?
I used mine last night. My iPhone's on the cusp, battery-wise. If not beyond the cusp, sadly. So I need to take a battery everywhere I go. And we went out. So that's what I did with it. Right, I think we're ready to go.
Hi, Stuart.
As ready as we're ever going to be. Hello, Stuart.
Sipping JD.
First time live. Excellent. Welcome along.
Welcome along. We don't bite, despite MacBites.
You said I do.
Well, you do, yes.
Yes, there's a tagline.
MacBites,
and
so does Elaine.
I have been known to, but that's only when you're annoying me. Which sometimes you do, don't you?
I'm saying nothing.
Okay.
I'm going to let you get on with it.
I'm going to share my screen. That's a good start, isn't it? So let's get my iMac shared. You should see your screen go blue. Well, your video will go blue. And then I'll get the slides up, which will guide us through everything we're going to look at tonight. I can see the chat, so say howdy doody in the chat. Oh, a floppy drive. Good grief. Oh, do you know, I the last floppy drive I bought was one of a USB external floppy drive. So is it one of those, Graham? And I got it when I got, I'm thinking it was my first laptop in 1999. Hadn't had a laptop until then. And I still had data on floppy disks and used to go into companies and plug the drive in and transfer the data. Oh, those were the days. Good grief. Hello, Charlie. Good to have you with us. Right, I keep promising I'm going to get these slides up, so let me get these slides up. Oh, it's all been a bit of a panic this week. Who actually read the email? Let me know in the chat if you actually read the email. Oh, Jane! Excellent, excellent.
Shall I recreate it?
I hope.
In the style of the Gumbay Dance Band.
Recreate what?
Well, Jane's just said she's been listening to the Queen special.
Ah, excellent.
So shall I recreate it in the style of the Gumbay Dance Band?
No, please don't.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed it. Yes, that's what sort of cropped up midweek, but I'll come on to that. I'll show you behind the scenes of what the edit looked like. You know a job where you take on a job and you think, that's not a problem. And then you start doing it and think, what have I taken on? It was one of those. It was one of those, but I hope you enjoyed it. Right, okay, tonight. Can you believe we're up to After Hours 27? I couldn't. I'm scratching around thinking, was it 23 or 24? To find out, it's 27. Hello, Paul. Roger didn't get an email. Why did Roger not get an email?
I don't know, I'm just checking.
Are you signed up to our list? Mike's going to have a look. Right, what are we doing this week? Well, lots, basically. Lots. Right, last week, Carl, who unfortunately isn't with us tonight because he's gone on a jolly. How strange. Wanted to know what was new in Affinity. So we'll take a look at what's new in the very latest versions of Affinity. Now, the good news is if you've got any version of Affinity Designer or Affinity Photo, you do not have to worry. Oh dear, hang on. There we go. You do not have to worry about spending any more money, because this update is free of charge. It's the biggest update they've released in a couple of years. They're saying it's the biggest update they've ever done to Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer 0.1. So, that's what we're looking at first. Secondly, Mike said I'm certifiably insane, which obviously I probably am. But I've had an issue with Affinity, and I've solved it. That's spoiling the punchline, really, isn't it? Well, I know what it is. I know what's causing the problem. Now, I'm working on the principle. A lot of you, so you let me know in the chat, have you been using Affinity apps for a while? Because if you have, and you've got Photo and Designer, you may have the same problem and not even be aware of it. So, for my demo, I will demo what the problem is. It's a corker. It really is a corker. I'll explain the ramifications of it, and then I will attempt to solve it live. You know those magicians that get themselves tied up in straitjackets and stuff? And you know, then they set themselves on fire, and they're hovering over a pit of crocodiles, just to add the jeopardy. It's that kind of demo. I've got a separate machine because I'm going to need to reboot. So if it works, it'll be a miracle. But if not, we'll all learn something, won't we? But it's worth looking at. It's a very, very, very tricky, naughty issue. Then we're going to look at Alfred Workflows because Johnny I wanted to. Now, Johnny specifically mentioned a requirement. So I've decided to split the demo into two because I've got a feeling Alfred might already do what he wants to do. So we'll have a look at what Alfred can do where you don't need a workflow, and then we'll have a look at where you do need a workflow. And then the Radio Gaga bits behind the scenes of what I was up to this week, which was my Queen special. I take on these jobs, you know. Seemed simple on the surface. I thought, yeah, I can listen to Queen tracks for an hour and a half. That's easy. Oh, good grief. Nowhere near as easy as you would think, but I'll take you behind the scenes so you can see what the edit looked like. I definitely need a system for that one, but then that brings into play Scrivener on mobile, and that just makes me cry, doesn't it, Mike? But in true tradition, what were we up to this week at MacBites headquarters? We always have a whale of a time at MacBites headquarters, every week. This week, it started on Monday. Now, Mike's probably scratching his head thinking, Monday? Don't remember Monday. What happened on Monday? So I'll put up that title and then he'll remember. Right, you remember that new camera I talked about? I've got a little, what is it? Canon. A Canon compact thing. Well, good job I did, because we got into a situation where we were in the pitch black taking photos. We were invited to Old Trafford for a private recording of some Munich memorial things. Obviously, we run the memorial at the ground for the fans twice a year. And who can name any of those players? There are 5 players there, obviously of a certain vintage, but, let me know in the chat if you can. What we were doing that was the museum, and the museum's incredibly dark. But that was off the camera, no flash. And it did quite well, didn't it? Not bad at all. We've discussed the fact that my iPhone has sort of... And, yeah, so that was why I got the camera. But, yeah, we got invited. It was a video recording session of the gentleman on the right, who is Wilf McGuinness, who was the first Manchester United manager after Matt Busby. He took over from Matt Busby. He had hair at the time, and that's his standing gag. He did have hair at the time. He lost it while he was the manager. Literally woke up one morning and it had gone. And he was being installed as a patron of the Duncan Edwards Foundation. So we got invited down. For reference, if any of you care, the guy on the left, not a player, big friend of Duncan Edwards, who sadly died. Next to him, we've got Alan Wardle, who was a Manchester United player. Then you've got Dennis Law. Next to him, Sammy McIlroy. And next to him, Paddy Crerand. So pretty much we know quite a few of those, don't we?
We do.
We actually walked in with Wilf and his wife. We know them. So that was what we did on Monday. Wednesday. Now, Wednesday was nothing for Mike. And I did mention it to him because this Wednesday was huge for me. Absolutely huge. I've waited 3 years for this. I have worked hard for this. And it took till Saturday till it appeared on my iPhone, which rather ruined Wednesday for me. But I knew I'd done it. I got my 1,000 day move goal badge. 1,000 consecutive days. Yes! Got nowhere to go from that. There isn't one higher than that. Wednesday was the great day. Actually, it was an anniversary for us, wasn't it? And we both forgot. But I did mention it the next day once I knew I'd got my badge. So obviously my badge was the most important. So that was Wednesday for me. So I was really, really happy. Well done there, David. You've got all of those. Right, Friday. Now, Friday, Mike decided he was going to start the day early, 5 o'clock. You're wondering why, aren't you? So did I. I don't think I got to bed before 4. So we kind of passed in the night. But the reason was he needed to persuade work he was going to actually be working on Friday. So he got up at 5 o'clock and trained some people in Australia, for whom it was the next day, wasn't it?
Nearly.
So much later on Friday for them. The reason was we were having an event. I should have put the poster in. It was called A Cuppa and a Cake. Oh, did we have fun. That's called a Mars attack. A lot of the people with us called it a heart attack.
On a plate.
And trust me, that was a small one. I think that one has been cut in half. So I did manage to get this other photo, which was a full Mars attack. Now, if you're wondering what the golf ball is, that's ice cream. They will actually put ice cream on top of your cake for you. Now, we'd planned this day for our local friends. Thank you for that, Jane. Much appreciated. We'd planned this day. We ended up with 25 of us there. So we took over Bramley Farm again. But that wasn't like the only thing for the day. We'd planned that. And then once we'd sorted that date out and we told everybody, Mike said to me, oh, look what's on at the Waterside. Now, the Waterside's a local theatre. And they do a lot of productions, mainly touring productions, aren't they? They're not really theatre-y things. They're more quirky than that. But they do every year, I think it's always in June, they do what's called the Sale Festival, because that's where we live, Sale, in South Manchester. And part of the Sale Festival is they get a band on, a tribute band. Last year it was ABBA. It was fabulous. So Mike said to me, oh no, it's the same day as we're doing the Cuppa and a Cake. And I said, it's not a problem, we can do both. Not only did we do both, we even managed, as you'll tell from the background of this image, we managed to squeeze in a Chinese meal between the two as well. I know. But you see, I don't eat cake. So I did not indulge in cake, but I did have some of the Chinese. I met this guy. Didn't go in with him like that. Oh, no. He excused himself, went to the gents, came back looking like that. Can you guess who the tribute band might have been? Now, if you say the Beatles and it looks like Sgt. Pepper.
Did his Mr. Ben impression, you mean?
He did. You did do your Mr. Ben impression, headed off. He proved very, very popular, did my Mike. with the ladies. Oh, yes, they're our mates. And it's half our mates. And yes, very popular. But it wasn't just the ladies, was it, Mike?
Wasn't it?
No. Do you not remember what happened on the way out?
I got asked to do some selfies.
With blokes.
Yeah.
With lots and lots of blokes. On the stage, luckily Mike wasn't doing the
I'm
singing.
not going to mention that, though, because that ruins the story.
Does it?
Ruins my image.
Does it?
Yes.
Oh, fair enough. Ruins his image, he says, stood there looking like that. There is a huge story with that. Should I leave that for MacBites?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not going to believe it on here. I will. It's more of an audio story than we've got pictures. So I'll leave that one. But hold the thought about those trousers. Anyway, that was Mike. But on stage, this was happening. Not altogether unsimilar, is it? When we actually got in, the guy on the door set eyes on Mike and said, "Good grief, you look more like Freddie than the tribute guy." And I have to say, yeah. Anyway, it was a really, really, what's the word, Mike?
Excellent concert.
It was a fabulous concert, but it was an interesting night. We were on the front row behind the... there's the row that's reserved for people in wheelchairs and stuff, and we were just behind them. And it was a little bit noisy behind us at times, wasn't it?
Mm.
When all of a sudden, at the beginning of the second half, they're in the middle, they were just coming to the end of... was it Don't Stop Me Now? It was, because we were laughing about which song it was. They were doing Don't Stop Me Now on the stage, when all of a sudden, no joke now, because we were right next to the aisle, two guys somersaulted down the aisle. And the aisle's not flat, it's like bleachers. I went, what the heck? They were scrapping, and I mean really, really, really scrapping. They were followed by about 4 women, one of whom was kicking hell out of one of the blokes. And I thought, ooh! It was crazy. It was. Anyway, the band disappeared. And I said to Mike, the real Freddie wouldn't have done that. He'd have dealt with it. Well, security dealt with them and they came back on and we had a fantastic night. So that was our week. I hope your week was as entertaining as ours. Oh boy, we have fun here. But you wanted to know all about the Affinity app update, so let's have a look at them. The anticlimax comparison to Mike in his pants. Now, can I tell them a little bit of the story about the pants?
Yeah, go on then.
They were so see-through. I said, I hope you're not going commando. He said, no, of course I'm not. Trouble is, he didn't have any white pants, did he? So you could see these black pants. I said, you're going to have to go out and buy a new pair of pants. So he did, and that's what you saw him in. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Right, well, there are new versions, as I have said, of Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. They are huge updates as far as Affinity are concerned, but many, many, many of the new features are behind the scenes. By which I mean they are critical updates. You'll notice them in terms of speed of working and stuff like that, but not necessarily in the interface. So they're banging on it's a huge, huge, huge update, and you could be forgiven for thinking, well, just a minute, I don't see too many changes in the interface. But the changes behind the scenes are things like you can work twice as fast with raw images. There is end-to-end Metal support. Now, Metal is the hardware acceleration software implementation from Apple that means that certain iPads and certain Macs can do things other iPads and Macs cannot do full stop. If you remember, we discussed this at length in relation to Pixelmator. Pixelmator brought out Pixelmator Pro, and I couldn't buy it on my Mac. And I checked the specs and I'm well specced up. Absolutely no reason that I couldn't, apart from the fact, tiny, tiny small print. The machine that you use this on needs to support Metal, and it didn't. It was too old. So those are the kind of things that have gone on behind the scenes. Things that you will see and do, we'll have a look at. But another issue is, the new monitor from Apple. The one Jane's been after for 10 years. Finally here. And Jane, you've probably cooled on it somewhat now, especially if you want the stand. Extra the grand for the leg. Crazy stuff. Also, I don't think that Mac looks as nice as the original cheese grater Mac, but, your mileage may vary. Mine is, I'd much rather have the original, but never mind. So, that monitor needs specific support to get the best from it. And they have added that to 1.7. Of course, odds are, I would suspect, if you were being cost-effectively minded and using Affinity products, as Roger's saying, just started with them and hoping to leave Lightroom and Photoshop behind, you've probably got an eye on the budget, and I don't think $6,000 for one monitor is particularly cost-effective. But that's just me. I won't be buying one. I recently bought two AOC monitors, and they're fantastic. I must do a blog post and take a picture of them, but we have looked at them on After Hours before. They are 27 inches, they work at the same resolution. I can push them to the same res as my iMac, which is 2560 by 1440, using an app called Resolutionator. And they're fantastic. I don't want to spend an absolute fortune, basically, on stuff like that. I don't mind having like a decent mouse, decent keyboard, trackpad, etc. But monitors, as long as I can see the picture, I'm fine. I'm happy. It'll do. So yeah, £1,000 it is for the stand. The rationale of that is the monitor weighs quite a lot. And what they've done is they've put some kind of articulated arm behind it. So off the stand, there's a smallish articulated arm. It looks a little bit like the old, what was that model? The one they did the advert for, where the CD drive flung out and it looked like it was sticking its tongue out.
Can't remember.
Mike's looking completely blank.
Yeah.
It was one of the early 2000 Macs. The neck on it looks like that, and they're saying that there's a lot of engineering gone into it. I still think how much? Sorry, pardon? Because for £200 you can get the VESA mount. If they brought out a £1,000 monitor with a 250 stand, I would still probably balk at 250 for the stand, Graham. I just think it's crazy. I mean, it's the thing it stands on. If you look on Amazon, the VESA plate for this thing is about 200. If you look on Amazon, you can get, they used to be called, there was a company that made them, and they were called a boa. There was a triple boa and a double boa. And basically, they're a huge clamp that screws onto your desk. And hanging off that clamp, there are either 2 or 3 VESA mounts. And you can put the monitors on there. These things weigh an absolute ton. Could well have been the G3, Graham. Great advert, be on YouTube somewhere. And when you look at the price of them, they did used to be a good few £100, but nowhere near £1,000. They were maybe £350, £400. Originally, they're only available in America and you had to import them. So you had all your import duties and VAT on top of that. But now they're available from Amazon, and I saw some at £60. And I'm not saying that they are as articulated as that and whatever, but seriously, £1,000. The monitors I bought were £131 each. So for £262, I've got, my iMac in the middle and 27 inches on either side of it, and that does me. I'm fine with that. My other concern about Apple with monitors is, doubtless that monitor will only work with certain models of computer. Obviously, the Mac Pro being one. The last time I spec'd that up, I think I did get it to over £50,000, so that had to wait till I managed to grow a few kidneys. I was going to need more than the one I could spare. So I don't know, without an adapter, whether that could even plug into an iMac. And it seems stupid to spend way more on the monitor than the actual iMac was. So I don't see me going that way anytime soon. But if you do, and you are a high-end user like that, then Affinity will support it. That's the good news. Right, let's actually have a look at some of these features. So I'm going to start off with Affinity Designer. I love Affinity Designer. Live in Affinity Designer. Absolutely live in it. Right, the view that I've got here, I have changed it a little bit, and I've got some assets and stuff in it that I've had. But I think you've seen my setup before. It's only slightly different. Only slightly different. As I say, the majority of the really, really important stuff is behind the scenes. But there are a few nice additions that I'll be using for a start. And I think if people knew about them, they'd be using them too. So let's go in and have a look at some of those. I've got the grid turned on here, which I don't usually do. So that's the first, because I've been playing around with it. So let's hide the grid for a start. What I'm going to start with is something fairly simple, but has not been here. And while I'm at it, I'll open Affinity Photo as well, just for good measure. Just for good measure. Let's get that on one side. Right, so in here, every time I add an element in here. I get an extra, I'll say layer, but actually they're not layers, they're objects. Although it says layers panel on the right hand side, they're not layers. You can add layers if you want to. You have in here, add a layer and add a pixel layer. So you can add a layer, but that is a layer, these are objects. Now, that might seem like not much of a distinction, but most other vector applications work with layers. Difference between objects and layers. An object is one object, unless I do something clever with it. So if I duplicated these and then I took that one and I put that over there like that, those two are they're two separate objects over here. Unless, of course, I merge them. And now they're one object over there. But now I can't unbake the cake. That is now a shape. It's not something that I can work with. Now, if you were with us last week when we looked at Amadine, no, it was Amadine. Oh, good grief. It was Amadine. We finally decided on Amadine. That enabled you to use the Boolean operations and create a grouped shape, and you could carry on editing it. Well, don't do that in here. But layers, you can actually add multiple items to a layer. So I've actually added that in there, but that is a layer, which then contains two of these. So if you've worked with other vector graphic applications, specifically Illustrator, it works with a layers concept. I pretty much ignore the layers, I'll be honest with you. I just work with groups and I will group them. So this object here, let's add a couple more objects. Probably not the best colour we've actually had, is it? Because you can barely see it. Oh, a nice lurid pink. Excellent. Right, if I just add a few more of these on here. If I want to work with these as a group, I can select them and just Command and G and I create a group. So there's a layer with two objects within it, like that, and there's a group with two objects within it. So I tend to work with groups. Reason I am discussing this at all is in Illustrator, you may have noticed, and Photoshop, you can colour code layers. And in Affinity apps, you could not colour code layers. But now, if you right click and go right down to the bottom, you can colour code them. So there's an orange one. Let's go down and make a green one. And let's go down and make a purple one. So now you can colour code them. Doesn't seem like a biggie, but it is if you... I wouldn't randomly do it. What I would do is sit down and say to myself, what do you want these colours to represent? So maybe I want all my text in purple so I can toggle it off. Maybe I want to have something multilingual. And I can instantly see it's purple, it's text. That's something that's going to need to be changed. Whatever your reason, whatever your rationale is totally irrelevant. It's just the fact it's there and you can do it and it's a visual indicator. Now, if we go into Affinity Photo and we make a new thing there we go. I will just get the paintbrush and squiggle, squiggly squiggle. Right, we've now got a pixel layer. If I go into there, you can do exactly the same thing in there. So that is now more akin to Photoshop. If you've used that for Photoshop, you'll be really grateful that that has appeared. I do think it's good. I would like to see it further over. But it's there. I'd like to see it more pervasive. I'd like to see the ability to use my own colours in certain apps. I'm really glad it's now in here. I will definitely use that. I've just not actually sat down and thought how I will use it because I've got used to using the Affinity apps without it. Now it's like I've got a new toy to play with. So that's fantastic. That is colour coding the layers. That's available in both of them in 1.7. Now, one of the things that's in here, I must admit, I don't really make great use of this. But if I take some of these shapes and I apply some colours to them, and I do various things. What I'm doing here is oh dear, that is lurid. There we go. What I'm doing is making changes. I might decide afterwards, I don't want these changes. I've totally changed my mind and I don't like them at all. At which point, how would I get them back to what they were? I might not be able to remember what colour they actually were or where they were placed. And there has long been a history panel. I'm going to pull that out because I'm running at such a small screen resolution here that you can't see everything. But that's my history of this document. So if I just get that out of the way so we can see the document, don't really want it docked, just want it out of the way. I can use this slider to slide back and roll back those changes. You can see them all going back. So if I get them back to the point just before I colour code anything like that, it shows me I'm at this point here of adding an ellipse. So if I then click, you'll see half that history disappeared. It just vanished. Because I've done something different now. Now I'm going through and I'm creating a new history, a new truth, aren't I? One of the additions that they've added is this. No, not you. Go away, not you. It's that, isn't it? There we go. There is a symbol. That one there. And it says cycle future. What it means is you've got an alternative history. You can actually click on it and it will take you back to the place I was before. So you can see up here, it stays there as well, cycle future, which takes me back to there. I think in the right hands for the right jobs, as long as you know that's there, if you find yourself up a creek without a proverbial paddle, you can think, oh, what did I do? What did I do? If you know about that, you can use it to get back to where you were. So it's an alternative history path. So I think you can see from the icon, it's taking a different path. But I personally don't think it's something I would use every day. But it's one of those things I'm glad that I know about, because if I'm sitting there looking at it thinking I've got a major problem here, I need to get back to, I'm going to think, of course, there's that alternative history and I can use it in that way. But as I say, I can't see me using that every single day. What I tend to do, if I want to make a radical change, is I'll probably put an artboard in and duplicate it and carry on working on another one. So I create an alternative layout and then compare that way rather than going up and down the history. But you have got up and down the history to go if you wanted to do that. So I think that's a really good addition. I never did get the painting history in Photoshop. You can actually paint with your history, which is a nice feature if you need to, but I can't honestly say I've ever actually needed to do it myself. So alternative histories, amazing, isn't it? Now, one of the other things is, who uses isometric grids? Who knows what an isometric grid is? Who cares what an isometric grid is? You will probably have seen artwork that uses an isometric grid, but you might not be aware that it uses it. So who's heard of it? Who uses it? Let me know in the chat. And I shall take a sip of the tea that Mike has made me before it goes cold and I get into trouble for not having it. Right, I've actually done demos of isometric grids before. I have, believe it or not. So I'm just going to get rid of all of the contents on there. We also don't need that layer, so let's get rid of that. Right, at the moment, there is no grid applied to this. And if what you're doing is a flat diagram, you might want to put a grid on it, but it be a grid. So if I go to view and grid, we just turn that off, let's turn it back on. It's a square grid. So obviously, if I'm designing my artwork and I want to create like square patterns, I can do that and I can work to the grid and you can see it snapping to the grid. And if I move one of these, so let's say I move that one up there, you can actually see it snapping to the grid and I've got all my red lines and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Right, so Jane not got a clue, never heard of it. But Sweetie does. Sweetie does. Right, okay, be prepared to be amazed then. This is a flat grid, which would mean I could start creating a pattern like that. I'm just copying them there. Right, but it's flat. Okay. Now, what you can do, they've improved the isometric grid. An isometric grid is one that's at an angle, and people tend to use it to make alternative worlds. So if you've seen like little cityscapes, they look like cartoon cityscapes, that's what you would use to create it. So first of all, let's get rid of all of that. I'll leave that turned on, but I will go into View and Studio and choose isometric, which I have got turned on somewhere. I have, it's there. It's at the back there. Now, it says in order to use the isometric panel, a compatible grid must be configured. And to do that, you need to click the button. Now, this is not new in this version, but there are huge changes to it that make it amazing. Right, so I've clicked on that and I've got a grid. Right. Now you're looking at it thinking, okay, it's just a skewed grid. But it can be very useful if, now I've not made any changes to that, it's just shoved that on. I can go into my grid settings, she said, looking frantically for it, there we go, and I can change everything. But we're going to go into there in a moment. It's put a grid on it, and that's what an isometric grid looks like. Why do you care? Well, let's get the pen tool and let's start drawing. You can see it snapping to the intersections. What this means is I could create, no, I don't really want that, do I? I want to click. I could create a similar pattern to the one you saw me create with squares. So I've just created a square. It's got no fill. Need to give it a fill. Now it's got a fill. And I could carry on doing that, pretty similar to before, only now it looks like it's kind of on its side. So I'm creating a pattern, and the right term for it is isometrically. There we go. So it's basically on its side. It gives you some kind of perspective. So same pattern, different, oops, wrong place, at the intersection. Very different look for it. Okay. And that's what people use to create these cityscapes. So that's what you can do with it. But we don't want to just leave it like that. Right, what we want to do is something far cleverer than that. So let's get rid of all of those. So Command and A, get rid of them. That grid's not bad as far as it goes if I want to build something fairly basic. But you do have complete control over your isometric grids. Now, if you're looking at all the options thinking, yeah, no. There are some presets. There's 32 points in 8 divisions, or there's 64 by 32 with planes. So that's what that looks like. That's pretty dense. That's pretty intense. Or there's that one that's much smaller. All right? So you have got a couple of those, or you could go in and you could make your own. You've also got different modes. You can have automatic, which is fairly basic. Well, it does it for itself, to be honest. You've got the basic one. You've got advanced, which allows you to choose the isometric. And you've got cube in here. So you can actually use this cube to change the view of that. It's pretty amazing stuff. It really is. Right, shall we go for that small one? I really want that small one there like that. That's not too bad. Let's have a look at the other one. I think we'll go for that one. Don't really want to get overburdened with how many squares we've got on there. But you can see I can actually start drawing things here. So I'm going to draw something. I'm going to draw a square. Well, it's a cube really, isn't it? If I do that, I've got the bottom half of that. So I'll actually undo that. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure it's in the right place. So I will draw 3 cubes across, 3 down, 3 there, 3 there. What I'll do with that so you can visualise it is give it a fill. So we've got orange on that. And that's the bottom of my cube. To make the top of my cube, I can just duplicate that. Now, depending on how your eyesight is, let me take it up a little bit. If I take it further away, you'll get the idea. Now I need to draw the side of it. Or do I? Interesting. Well, it was 3 by 3, wasn't it? So I'd need to go up. So let's give it a go. Let's try and draw this side here. We'd need to go up 3. And then where would we need to go? We'd need to bring it across 3, down 3, and up there. And now we've got a panel. And if I give that a different colour, you can start to see I could make a cube with this, I could. But you need to think about how to put it together, because technically speaking, with those 2 shapes, you should have everything you need. You might not look it, but this one could be this side here. It could also be that side there of my cube. Couldn't really be the front bit though, could it? That's not going to work. So I'll put that one there, and I'm going to give everything a slightly different colour. In fact, I'll duplicate that first. So I've got both sides of this, and it's snapping. This is easy. I don't have to be very clever in drawing this, and trust me, I'm not very clever drawing this. And I've got my top there as well, which I'd need at the front. So I will bring that to the front, which is just taking it to the top of the stacking order. That's the bottom of the cube. That's the top. That's the back side on the right. That's the front side on the left. So I'm 2 sides missing. I'm going to keep this one out of the way for the moment so we can see it. I need to draw it there. But if you were drawing a cityscape with this, you don't want to draw every little individual bit by hand. You will drive yourself insane. So if I duplicated that one, I know it's not going to work very well, because if I put it there, it's like an open door and I actually need it closed. But you've got here, flip horizontal on plane. That's not right. Don't want that one. So have a look at what options you've got on here. Flip it that way. No, that's not working. How about that way? That's not working. This worked in rehearsals. Right, which one was I doing then? Not liking that one. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll leave that there and I'll show you the easy way to do it. I actually flipped it and it worked. I probably flipped it that way. The not clever way, just did that. But there is a clever way to do it as well. Let's leave it like that for the moment. That can go to the back, which means it needs to be at the back or behind the pink one at least. And I'll give that a different colour. I'm running out of colours now. So I'll go and get some appley colours. Let's make that one yellow at the back. And I can just duplicate that for the front one. But obviously, it's not in the right stacking order. It needs to be much nearer here. And let's choose a lurid green for that. So there is an orange one at the bottom, as you can see. I've made my cube, and all I need to do is bring the top over and I've got a cube. Brilliant. That's what an isometric grid is. That's what it does. It allows you to draw. Can you just imagine how difficult it would be to draw that without an isometric grid? There you go. Now, we don't want to leave it there. That's not good enough. But let's save that file in case it decides to commit harry-carry. Let's put in there isometric demo. Right, additions. This is what you can do now. Once you've got your pattern here, which is a square, it could be a building, could be a church, could be a warehouse. It doesn't look real. You know, for a cityscape, it doesn't look real. So you might want to take a shape and then apply something to it, a texture or something like that, or an image. Might want to do that. So I'm going to open a recent file, which is my MacBites markers. We've seen this file before. Let's keep it simple to start with. We'll go for a basic. We'll go for the MacBites, which is, that's my chapter marker for the MacBites. We haven't had a MacBites in a while. If you love something about your tech, let us know and we'll feature it in a MacBites. Right, so I've copied those. I go back to my demo and I'm going to paste it in. Now it's huge. It's huge by comparison to the artwork I've already got. So I'm going to group it and I'm going to squidge it down. Right, so there's one piece of artwork. Now, what I'd like is for that, because it would look really cool, on the front of there. Only it's not going to work, is it? Because if you look at it, it's not bent round correctly. Again, you've got it as that, I call it an open door, right? That's not going to work. But what can we do about that? Well, it's the right size, because if I push it next to it, it's 3 large grid units in height. So it's the right size. It's just not the right orientation at all. However, there is an option here that's so cool, which is fit to plane. And we're working on this plane that you can see. The isometric grid is, at the minute, we're working on the top. So if I wanted to put that MacBites on the top of there, if I just selected it, blue handles, and hit fit to plane, that's exactly what it does. And I can just drag it across and now I've got the top of my box. Isn't that cool? But we don't want to do that because we wanted it on the purple bit. Not bad, no t-shirt. But you have different planes that you can work in. The top one, the side or the front. And we can tell from the little image that we want it on the side. At that point, your isometric grid changes. Look at it, it's shifted behind it. And now you're working to the side. So if I select that and I hit fit to plane, that's exactly what it will do. And I can put it on the side of the box where we wanted it. How cool is that? Now, the next thing we want. Hang on, that's not what I wanted to do. No, it's okay. Right, I'm saving it. The next thing we need to do is to get the already be seeing the problem. It's not square. It's not, it looks square. The artboard is square, the contents of the artboard not square. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to take it into my isometric demo, I'm going to paste it, group it, and make it smaller, because it's far too big. But look at the size of that, that's not square. That's nowhere near square. Let's have a look what the problem is with it. The problem is the waves are actually bigger, they're wider, than the square. So I need to shrink that down in a meaningful way. And to do that, I can actually apply a vector crop. This is the vector crop. So let's take that in. Now I want it as perfect as possible. And you can be more precise the closer you zoom in. That looks pretty perfect. Now I need to sort the other end out. So I'll get it relatively close, but then zoom in. And hopefully get it bang on right. It still wants to snap. Don't snap like that. I'll only have to turn the snap off. Let's turn the snap off. See if we can do it that way. You're not doing it. Not that's better. Right, I reckon that's almost there, if not perfect. So let's have a look at that. Let's zoom out. Right, it's selected and I can see I am bang on right. It is 3349.6. So I've applied the crop, that sorted that out. Now this one needs to go on the top. And if I snap it to the grid right now, so fit to plane, that won't work. I would be able maybe to flip it and fiddle, but we don't want to do that. Change it so you're working on the top plane. Make sure it's selected, fit to plane. Move it into place. Now obviously it's far too big. And, hoisted by own petard, turn the snap off. You want the snap on here, that's useful. And then just scale it. And it will fit beautifully to the top. Then all you need to do is go back and get the last piece. Oh, which one should we have? I know. Shopping with Elaine. I think actually that one needed a crop as well. I think there were bits hanging out the edge. Yes, the shopping things hanging out of the edge. Let's have a look. Oh no, that's not. It's those three there. Let's take it anyway and let's put that one in. So let's group it and zoom out. Does it need cropping? Let's have a look. It needs cropping. There's something hanging out of the edge. Looks like it's the top edge. It will be the tiny bit of the shopping cart that's hanging out of the edge. So again, a vector crop. You see, if you were printing this, it would make no difference. But for jobs like this, the vector crop is your friend. Perfect, I think. Right, let's do the same with that. But this time we need to be working on the front plane. Drag the corner into place, although you don't have to. You can just leave it wherever it is. Fit to plane. Then drag it into place and scale it. And that's not quite right. Let me get it in the right place. That looks better there. And make it a smidgen bigger. There we go. And we now have the MacBites cube. So the bit that's new is the ability to snap all of that to an isometric grid. And that's why you might want to use an isometric grid. Totally agree, Jonathan. Working with it's horrible. It does. You look at it and you start to see, I mean, that could actually be, if you look at it in terms of a cube, you see a cube. But if you actually look at it, it just looks like a hexagon. So it does. It plays tricks on you. I wouldn't fancy doing that all day, every day, but I don't really work much with isometric grids. I would if I wanted a cube like that, then I would. And then, of course, I can actually turn off the grid, and there's my cube. There's my cube. So, isometric grids. Love them or loathe them, but now you know what they are. So you've learnt something. Right. Now, let's go and get... We'll work on this one. We'll leave the cube to one side and work in this one. You will notice here that I have some assets. And these are assets that I use all the time. If I want to add a MacBites live to something, I can. Or the wolf for after hours, there he is. Now, they're not really simple shapes. They are more complex things. But Affinity Designer provides shapes for you to get started with. So we know we've got the simple rectangle and we've got the ellipse or circle, and we've got the rounded rectangle. We have all of these shapes, but we also have these ones here, which gives you different ones. And these can work in different ways. You can get something like a polygon. And remember, these are smart shapes. So up on your contextual toolbar, it says size 5, and you can take that up to silly proportions. 48 if you want. And I think it goes down to 3, which takes it to be a triangle or a diamond. You get the idea. You also have in here that where you can take it out to make it virtually a circle, or pinch it in, and it gives it a completely different look. So if you were to change 8 to much more, but having pinched it in, you got a very different look than if you had it square on the edges. So you've always had those options. And that's a very simple smart shape. There are much more complex smart shapes in here. Let's have a look at the pie tool. The pie tool's very cool. Doesn't look like it does much, but actually in here it does. You can do that, so you can make it a donut pie. You can move this up and down. So if you needed to represent something else in an infographic, you can. So you've always had all of these shapes. I think the crescent, yeah, I've used this as a smiley. I made it an unhappy smiley. I flipped it round, so it's an unhappy smiley. I think I did. Let's take that out. Let's turn that round. So it was a happy smiley, and then it was a sad smiley. So we did that with it, made it a sad smiley. Oh, I've got too much time on my hands, haven't I? So there's always been those kinds of shapes, but the problem is they are limited. You can get adventurous with them, and I have shown you this one before. There's a lovely heart. Can't really do much with a heart then, can you? It's a heart. And obviously it needs to be in red. Can't do hearts if it's not in red. So there's a heart. You can, however, I'm just actually going to change that so we can see when you click on it, you've got that red bit there, and you can turn it into bunny ears if you want, or take it up like that. So there are things you can do with it, but not too much. But you can get clever with the shapes. You could take the triangle tool like that, and the heart tool, and flip the heart tool round, put it over there, and now you've got the club shape for a card. So that would then be black. And I've done that in a demo before. So you've got options with these shapes as long as you know how to use them. But you may have specific shapes you use all the time. Maybe something that you've drawn, or maybe something that you've made from these shapes. And you think, oh, I wish I could change this double star tool here, right, to not look like that. You know, I want it to look more like that, or I want it to look like this. And I want to start from that. It's a logo or something. You know, you just want to do something different like that, right? Well, you can't. It's as simple as that. These are all your starting points, and those are the starting points you're always going to have. So if you're like me and you get very cranky very fast over things like that, you could have added it to the assets. So I have MacBites assets and I have personal branding assets. So these are my sidebars. That's what my sidebar looks like. Absolutely huge. But I would put that on a poster, so I have it at the side like that. So I have different categories. You can even have, and these ship with Affinity. If you want to design an interface for an app, it ships with iOS 12 assets. Lots and lots and lots of assets. In fact, I've used those not to design an app, but to create a screenshot. I've recreated something because I want something that I can't take a screenshot of. So I will recreate something, well, not recreate it, create it from scratch, and then that will become my screenshot. Only it's not a real screenshot. I've actually created it. I have manufactured a screenshot. Okay, but it's long-winded, that. It's a little bit long-winded. There are other ways to go now. That's one of the features. So these are the shapes. So we made that one, didn't we? And we made that one. Those are the two we made. We're not particularly concerned about these because these are simple. Right. But if you select the tool, this one here, which is So it remembers the last thing you did, but the default's the triangle at the top. So it says triangle tool. If you do that, and this is one of the issues I would say with Affinity Designer, they kind of hide stuff. If you, how many of you updated? Let me know in the chat. If you've got this, have you updated? And have you found half these features? Because they're not exactly in your face. Well, there's a new option. Everything's changed and you can see it. It's right in front of you. Doubtless, you've not noticed it though. There is a cog on the context-sensitive toolbar. It says presets. Really? Wow. You never update, Mike. You never update. If I go into there, I can see I've got these presets and it says triangle, triangle, triangle. And the little symbol that's on it, that's the Affinity logo. Okay. So if you click the drop down, so we've clicked the cog, we found the cog first, then we've clicked the cog, and now there's a drop down. Oh, it's presets. And we can manage presets, and the presets we're managing are our own shapes. Now, first of all, before we get to those dizzying heights, there's already a huge collection of shapes. If I do that, it's toggling in and out to these shapes. So we've got double-headed arrows and pies and all sorts. So we've got a lot more shapes to go at that we didn't have before. But we can add categories as well. So you can create a category. So if I call this demo shapes, I've created a category and there they are at the bottom. And from there I can add, export, etc. So I can work with these. So if I click that there, I've now drilled down. It's a bit tricky to see. I can rename it, I can delete it, and I can import presets to the category if I want to. So obviously, first of all, I'm going to have to create these assets, etc. So can I was wondering if I could drag and drop them. I can. I'm loving that. So I can start off with that and end up with a cog in there. Not sure if that dragged it out of the other one. Let's have a look. Let's take the heart. It did. It took it out of that one. But we can restore the master presets like that. And that takes them out of my demo shapes. So really, it just gives you far more options when it comes to starting points for shapes. Oh, right. We've got a question. You mentioned it's shipped with iOS assets. Are there any sites you can recommend for downloading assets for other applications, Office or operating systems? Ooh, there are actually plenty. The difference is, if you do that, they won't be in Affinity Designer format. It's highly unlikely they would be. That's because Sketch has become the de facto standard. So you can get loads and loads and loads of Sketch assets. Now, all I do, I haven't actually got an active subscription to Sketch, but there is a reason why. I keep saying I must do that. Not because I want to, because I now use Affinity Designer. I did use Sketch. I switched from Illustrator to Sketch, and I switched from Sketch to Affinity Designer. Sketch is subscription. It's hugely expensive, and you can only have one activation at a time. That's not going to work for me. I wouldn't mind 2 or 3. And there's only one of me. So why do I have to pay for 27 licenses? Because I have more than one piece of kit. That's an argument for another day. So what I intended to do was get a license for a year and convert all the assets that I've created in Sketch to Affinity Designer format. Thing is, every time I find something that I need to do that with, I go into Sketch and it's given me another 5 days. So I've just gone with it, really. I literally have just gone with it. But if you've got a way of converting Sketch, there is this site here called SketchUp Sources, and it's got hundreds and hundreds of assets, all kinds of assets. Most of them are free, as it says here, show all the free resources. And there's anything that you can think of. So if you have access to Sketch, you could open it up in Sketch and then export it from there. So you mentioned Android. Browse by tag. If I click on Android, there's all the mock-ups, the wireframes, you name it. One option would be, good practice for you, if you found something like a wireframe kit, and that's what you're looking for, create it yourself, because they are pretty basic shapes. They are very basic shapes, and it'd be really good practice in Affinity Designer. You could then make it available to the community. People would love you. They would love you. But try SketchUp sources. Not actually too sure with Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer assets free. Let's see what we get. Assets and free resources. There you go. Let's try that. Oh, that's from Envato. So yeah, you can search for it and you can get free stuff like that. One place I've been able to get stuff from, but only because I have a subscription to it, is Envato Elements. So this is Envato Elements. It's a subscription thing. I don't have to pay that much for it. It was something to do with, I've done work for them. I've done courses for Envato that you can get through Tuts Plus. But I had some kind of subscription to it. And what they offered me was if you convert this subscription from the learning bit, the courses bit, into an Elements bit. So if you subscribe to Elements, you not only get access to thousands of things like this, you also get all of the training thrown in. So actually, it's cheaper than a Lynda subscription, and you get access to all these assets. We looked at this before when we looked for a viewfinder video. We wanted a video, stock videos, there you go. We wanted a video that was like an overlay of a camera that you could put your video behind. Now, that just says download. So I'm logged in, I can download that for free. I don't pay anything for that. But if we found, let's find one that looks expensive, something like that. That looks expensive. And it's got a really useful name. If we take that and we go to Envato Video and do a search for that, that should take us to, no, we don't want Elements. We want Video Hive. This is where they actually sell the same assets that I have access to. They sell them. Now you can see there it says from $16.50 a month, which sounds a lot. But if I can find this one, let's see if we can find it. There it is. That's $11 on its own. If we searched for Viewfinder, I found some of these Viewfinder things and they were $30, $40. It was ridiculous. See, there's $29. What have we got that's more expensive? $45. So I could download from Elements every single one of these and it wouldn't cost me any more than my subscription. If you just wanted the one at $45, I mean, that one is nice. I can tell how, you see all the different versions and variants you're getting of it, but it's still $45. Whereas I can download that and all the rest. So it just depends how much you use it. Now, in here, if I go to this one and I search items and I put Affinity Designer, let's see how many are actually in Affinity Designer format. Are many in Affinity Designer format? Looks like there's a few. If we look for graphics, it looks like there's a few in Affinity Designer format. So it might be worth your while taking it, like you've got material backgrounds there, taking it for a month and downloading what you need. So that's an idea for you. I use their stuff all of the time, but there's definitely less of a market than there is for Sketch. So I tend to start with Sketch. And once you've seen them like that, you can think, oh, I can draw that. It just gives you something to work to. So try that first. So presets, you can have your own shapes now. That was awesome. Loving that. Absolutely loving that one. What else was there? One of the things that I stumbled across inadvertently. And I thought, how long's that been there? I hadn't noticed that. No, it's new. Who's come across a problem like this? Let's say you've got a piece of artwork. So we've got a yellow piece of artwork. And I want to put on it, now usually this happens in Keynote. I want to put a border on it. And I want another border on it. I want two borders on it, basically. Sketch has been able to do it since forever. In Keynote, what I end up doing is duplicating whatever it is, putting one border on one element of it and one on another. If that sounds a bit weird, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into my presentation, come out of my presentation, bring Keynote across so you can see it. There's my live presentation. Put a slide in, you know, as you do, on the fly. There's a slide. We'll give it a white background so we can actually see it. And I will just put a shape in. Let me think. Can I do it? I can. Border. So I've got this shape and I would like it to have two borders. I'd like it to have a line around it, maybe black, maybe white. But I'd also like it to have a picture frame on it. So basically I want an inset black line around it. Yet that's not happening. You can't have two, you can only have one. So what you do, you go back to having nothing and you duplicate it. You choose the first one, which is going to be at the back. So let's are you at the back? You are at the back. Awesome. That's the one at the back. You apply the wider border. So there's your picture frame. And for your other one, which is a line, and I don't want it 5, I'd probably have it 2 or 1, and then you drag that over the top and it gives the impression that you've got 2. I know, it's shocking, shouldn't have to do this. But now let me get that out of the way and let me get back to where it was, or I'll try and run it and wonder where on earth we're up to. So out we come. Right, so that's basically what I want here. I want 2 borders on it. Well, this up here is your stroke and this is your fill. Now you might be wondering, where is the black stroke? Don't see it. Well, let's make it purple so we can see it. There we go. You can see it now, it's on the edge. You can go into the stroke and you can make that wider so you can actually see it. There you go. So that's your stroke, that's your fill, and that's it. You're done. Because if you look at this, there it is, that's it. But there is this appearance now. And you've got add stroke and add fill. So I could add another stroke to it. There's the stroke at the top. So this one's going to sit on top of the purple one. So I can click on that, open this up, and I can make that a different colour. So I could make that red or green. Now obviously I need to do something different with that, right? So in here, see the green? The green's now much bigger. Now it's smaller. So if I make it a little smidgen shorter, smaller, so more narrower than that, it looks like the border's got a border of its own. No, see, convert to pixels, but we don't want to convert to pixels because we might need to do something clever with it, Graham. Don't convert to pixels unless you absolutely have to. So you can do that, but you can also apply properties of this. So at the moment we have in here, one of the other extra features is you've now got ends, which I'll show you on something that makes more sense. You can change the order of this and you can scale with the object, etc. But you can also go into the properties of it and apply variances and all kinds of things, brush widths and stuff. So your borders, that's way too big. You get the idea. You can do a variance on it. Now, where was I after? I was looking for, and which would appear to have vanished. Oh, there it is. Right, I can make the top one, the green one, I can give that a different style. So this one is a dashes, so a dash of 1, 0, 0. If I make that one 2, you can see I get a bigger gap. If I put in there 3, what happens? Oh, so just keep playing around with it, basically. Just keep playing around with it and you get totally different effects. There you go. And that's because you can have more than one border and more than one fill. So if you've come across from Sketch and you're used to that and you think this is really primitive, it's not now. It's there. It's there. One of the things I did think was fantastic, and I'm just going to get a new file for this because we're starting to get confused with that. You know you can draw with the pen tool. We draw with the pen tool all the time. And some of us like the pen tool and some of us don't like the pen tool. Pen tool can be a little bit unnerving to work with. Not quite sure what that is. But there is a pencil tool. And the pencil tool allows you much more granular control, like that. But what if I slip, and I think that's not much of a flower, is it? Oh dear. Then up to now, you've had to go in and edit these points. So you can get your point tool in here and you can move it like that. But I wanted it out here somewhere, and now it's looking worse than it did before. Right, so not great. That definitely doesn't look great. Well, with your pencil tool, you now have a new mode. You have sculpt mode, which is that one there. Toggle sculpt mode doesn't seem to do a thing. You don't need to worry about it though. You just need to go back to where it all went hideously wrong and draw in what you really wanted, like that. And it takes away the bit that was wrong and allows you to correct it like that. And then, of course, you can finesse where required. So if you probably don't need that one, you don't need that one, you can start to tidy it up immensely, like that. But you drew it freehand with the pencil tool, and you can now correct it. Or you can take bits away. So sculpt is there. What if it lost a petal? Poor thing. There you go. Or add it back, like that. Sculpt mode. Brilliant. Loving it. Loving sculpt mode. I think that was it. I think they were the best features, I thought. I thought they were the strongest, best features. Some of them are in Affinity Photo where it's relevant. But that's what's new in 1.7. 1.7 Affinity Designer and 1.7 Affinity Photo. Right, I've pressed the wrong key and gone into Tweetbot, which I didn't want to do. So let me come out of Tweetbot. Hoisted by my own shortcuts. Right, this is my crazy demo. All right, I'm going to make room on the desk for this one. This one's fabulous. Now, what you need to do is you need to check if you have the same problem that I do. So I'm moving all my machines out of the way because this is a very complicated demo. And hopefully it'll work, but if not, I'll still explain what the problem is. I just hoped to be able to share with you my pain. Right, we all know that Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo love one another. They work together really well. You can be editing a photo in Photo and send it across to Designer. You can be editing designs in Designer and send it across to Photo. It's fabulous. We love it. But there is a problem. And this problem manifests itself very oddly and awkwardly. Let me think. Let me show you, if I go into Designer, let me show you what I mean by passing it round. So not that one, that would blow its mind. But if we've got a basic demo like that one, so that's what we've drawn, you can go, first of all, you have a pixel persona in Affinity Designer, but you can also edit in Photo. And you just click that one option, boom, it opens Photo and it passes the artwork across. And now I could edit that in pixel mode in Photo. They are that close to each other. They love each other. So I'm not going to save that one. Right, but you need to see what the problem is. So for you to see the problem, I need to go into my other machine, which is called Mercury. Pray to the gods of everything that's holy that it will actually connect to Mercury. Now, it might not, because I've got two networks running, so let's see what it makes of that first. Oh, you're on the right network. Don't do this to me. Right, that's awesome. That'll do. We'll take that. There we go. So, this is my... Let's show you that. No, not that. Now I'm working with two machines. I told you this was a bad demo, didn't I? This is a complicated demo, trust me on this. Right, let's get that up so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'll move the control out of the way. I will open that. I will open that. Oh, you see my cup of tea, which is going colder by the moment. Right, I've got that, which is my desktop. So let's show you that. I'll put it down there, because we don't need to see it too big at the moment. You just need to see, there's my tea. There's my tea. You just need to see, if I move it, what I'm actually looking at. And what I'm actually looking at is that. You'll see a machine behind it. This is me. Well, I have one machine on the desk when you have 27. But this one here, that you can't see the thing too well, that one, is my old MacBook Air. So that's the one I'm working on that you're seeing on the screen behind. So I'll leave that there. Don't need it big, just so you've got an idea of what I'm doing. This is iCloud. We love iCloud. This is iCloud, and this is the problem with iCloud. Right, with iCloud, if you have an app that hooks into iCloud, like iAnnotate or iThoughts or Keynote, it creates a folder, and you'll see that the folder has a dedicated icon. No problem. MWeb, Napkin, all works. You'll also see ones that don't, like DevonThink. And whatever else I've put in there, Clarify and Comic Life. They're not iCloud folders, hence they have no icon. Right, so far so good. Let's go into icon view so we can see them all. Right, there we go. Are they sorted alphabetically? They should be. What on earth have you done now? Arrange by name. That's better. Now we can see the problem. Right, Affinity Photo. Affinity Designer. What's the problem? Well, they both got the same icon, but hey, it's just an icon. Not going to cause any problems, is it? No, of course it's not. If we go into Affinity Photo, we've got photos. Heaven knows what these photos are. We got some red eye photos. Let's have a look at those. Let's download that. No idea what that picture is. It's dangerous on a demo, isn't it? How about bold red eye? Let's try that one. If I open that, now that's actually a JPEG. So that'll probably open in, oh no, it's going for Affinity Photo. Awesome, that'll do. There you go, that is bold, isn't it? Right, so no problem at all with that. Let's go back, and I've created in Affinity Designer, my Affinity Designer one, I've created a demo, which is this infographic that we used that last week. And what I want to show you is, if I take that and I put that, I was going to say on my desktop. That's probably not the best place to put it, is it? Let's put it in my local files there. So documents local. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of it. So drag and drop that into there with the option key. It's a copy. Now, it's an Affinity Designer file. You can see that because of the extension. And if I do that, you can see down here, opens with Affinity Designer. Default 1.7. Can't go wrong then, really, can I? If I double click it, it will open. Poor machine, 7 years old, it's struggling. There you go. It's opening with Affinity Designer 1.7. Okay, you can see I've literally just done the update, not even done that. There's the graphic we worked on last week. No problem with that then. Everything is working hunky-dory. Let's go back to where the file actually lives, which is in my Affinity Designer folder in iCloud. And let's open it. Who spotted what went wrong? It opened all right. Let me have a look at the chat. Who spotted what went wrong? Oh, you've all nodded off. Oh, wakey, wakey. Wakey, wakey, what happened? Well, it opened. That was fine. Problem? Well, I must admit, the first time this happened, I didn't notice. I just carried on working. At which point I thought, where the hell did that file go? And what I was doing was I was doing some work like this, infographic work. So I grabbed my shapes from the bottom there. Here's all my shapes. And I started working. And I was fine. I was absolutely fine. Saved the file, closed it down, went away and did something else and came back. Opened Affinity Designer, started trying to work, couldn't find the file. Who's twigged what's gone on? Yes, Graham, it opened up in photo, but just a minute. Why did it do that? Let's go back and start again. It's a designer file. It's got the designer icon. It's in the Affinity Designer folder. If I right click on it and do get info, it will tell me it's going to open, oh, Affinity Photo. Just a minute. Why? Not a problem. I'll change it, I thought. Just a minute. Affinity Designer is the default, so why is this one opening with photo? Not a problem. These things happen, don't they? I'll just change it to Affinity Designer. Oh, that didn't take. Let's do it again. You can do that all day long. Not going to work. It's broken. This was doing my head in. Now, I was aware of the problem before, but it was one of those issues I couldn't fix, so I left it alone. But this time it was giving me major grief because I had this folder open and I want to double click on these files and I can't double click on any of them because if I do, they'll open in photo. What's wrong with it? Well, there's a fix. It's hideous. Who's up for a hideous fix? We're always up for a hideous fix, aren't we? Hold on to your hats. This one's not pretty. It's not. What's happened is iCloud's got confused. Now, I thought, okay, I'll take that. I will take the fact it's got confused because I've had Affinity Designer since day one, which is a good 4 years ago now, if not longer, and Affinity Photo since day one. And I've had them on iOS. And clearly what's happened is before Affinity Designer was available on iPad, it would open in photo. And iCloud's remembered that. Good to know iCloud remembers something, isn't it? Right, that was the idea. That's what's wrong with it. So how do we fix it? Well, that was the problem. It wasn't pretty. This is what you need to do. Right, your first step is to back everything up. obviously, because it is not pretty. Right, so you've seen what the problem is. Let's imagine everything's backed up at this point. Your next step is to go in to your iCloud settings in your computer. And you need to go into the options for iCloud Drive. And these are all your options. In here, as you scroll down, we should find Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. They're in here somewhere. Keep going. I've got a lot of apps. What can I say? There they are. Right. You take the tick out of both of them and you click Done. That does not delete the files from iCloud. But they're not syncing anymore. Okay. Not on this machine, they're not. Right. So we can close that down now. Next thing we need to do is to go. You're going to love this one. This one's bad. This one is very bad. Let's maximise that. Right, you next need to go. In your Go, you should have Library. If you don't, hold down the Option key and it will show you Library. And I'm going to go into a list view because it's just easier for me to visualise because I'm always in a list view. If I go into Application Support and make sure that they're sorted by size, we don't want that. On them alphabetical. And I need to go in there to Cloud Docs. Cloud Docs. There they are. And then I need to go into the Session folder. So I'm quite a way down at this point. And then I need Containers. Right. This is looking naughty, isn't it? Do be careful doing this. Make sure you are backed up. Your mileage may vary. You have been warned. But I'm just going to go for it tonight. And I'm going to do it live. I know, insanity. Right, you need to find 4 items. The first one is 6LV. So I'm scrolling down. 6LV tqb9699.com.seriflabs.affinitydesigner. Awesome. Nice to know they're really handily named. So that's one item. The next item is the one below it. So they both start with 6LV. And you delete them. This is where it gets hairy scary. When I did this on my main Mac, I backed them up. But hey, without the aid of a safety net, they've gone. They're in the bin. The next one starts with iCloud. Now, there are hundreds that start with iCloud. Be careful, make sure you get the right one. iCloud.com.seriflabs. So keep scrolling till you get to the S's. Oh, P. Oh, hang on. Too far. Where's my iCloud gone? Serif Labs, it'll be after there. Here we go, Serif Labs. Now, you'll notice here, I found I had lots of them. Look at them all. And I had to be very careful which ones I deleted. Right, it was iCloud.com seriflabs.affinityphoto. Looks like that one then. Or is it? No, look at the dot, affinity.photo. The one I'm looking for is Affinity Photo. It's that one. And the other one is the plist file. Not the iOS one, it's the plist file, so it's that one. This is what I'm saying about being incredibly careful with this. Now, this machine I've used for the years, since the year dot. I worked on the principle that the machine you can see here, the one at the back, that one there, would be fine because it was brand new in November. It's not. I've not even started fixing that one yet. All of my machines have got this exact same problem. So you let me know in the chat. I can just about see it. Right? Whether you've had a look at yours and is yours doing the same thing. Because there's more than just me got this problem. So triple check the name of that file. Affinity Photo no full stop dot plist and dot Affinity Photo. I reckon I've got the right ones. Hope to God I've got the right ones. Yep, they look right. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. She said, hang on, make sure I'm on the remote machine. Poof, gone. Right, they are in the bin. So I'm going to empty the trash. Hair is scary. They've gone. They've definitely gone. Bin's empty. Okay, so they've gone. Right, the next thing you need to do is to reboot. And that's why it's a tricky demo, isn't it? I don't have to reboot. Right, so let's do, I actually need to restart. So I'm going to do a restart. Now, luckily I can do this demo because I'm using remote desktop. So it's actually going to reboot now. And we'll just sit and look at it, shall we? Right, what we're going to need to do, so I'll talk you through it first. Who else has got this problem? Let me check on there. You're not saying? Are you not looking? You didn't go and have a look at this problem. Or is the fix too hideous to even contemplate? Right, it's not doing too bad. You can see it rebooting on the, let me get that to the front, and then you can see it rebooting. There you go. Not too bad. I'll finish off the tea. I don't actually have to close remote desktop. I can just leave it sat there and it should automatically reconnect when it reboots. What we're going to need to do, so in terms of making sure you've got the right files deleted, that's the hairy scary bit. But the next one's not too bad. The next bits are not too bad at all. We will have rebooted, and obviously we'll need to re-enable iCloud support for both of those apps. So when it's rebooted and we're in it, we will go back in to the iCloud settings, the documents. That letter's in. Wonder why it didn't ask for my password. That's scary. Never mind. Must know it's me. Maybe it's twigged I'm sat here with me Apple Watch on. But never mind. It's let me in. That'll do. Right. So I need to go back into iCloud. Oh, I've got to wait for Alfred to start. Which reminds me of the next demo. I can't use a Mac if Alfred's not ready. So we'll leave it to sort Alfred out. We'll go into iCloud. We'll turn them back on. Technically, that's all we need. But I would relaunch Designer and Photo. And I'll show you why when it happens. So we don't want that. And we don't want... Why is one password running? God almighty, what are you doing? Alfred, are you there, Alfred? Oh, Alfred, you're not. Can't work if you're not there, Alfred. Right, you should now see it on the main screen. So as well as seeing it down there, you should see it on the main screen. I wonder why Alfred's got itself giddy. Okay, we can work with that. I'll just go and run Alfred manually, shall I? Oh, don't get off your backside, Alfred. I haven't updated this one. That's Alfred 3. Oh, you're awake. Awesome. Right, let's go into iCloud. And let's turn on the iCloud Drive settings. Now, just before I do, because when I did this the first time, for real, hairy scary, what I did was I went and had a crafty look. And I thought, well, if this doesn't delete the files, are they there? So I went into my Finder and I went into iCloud Drive and nearly had a fit. My Affinity Photo Beta folder was there. My personal EKG folder was there. Oh, they've gone. Yeah, hairy scary, like I said. So let's leave that down there. Don't panic. Don't panic at this stage. Put a tick in the box for both of them and done on that. And then go run Affinity Photo. Get that open. And while it's thinking about it, let's go run Affinity Designer. So obviously, poor old machine, it's 7 years old. Give it a few minutes. It's bouncing away. Once they've been opened for the first time, they should ping iCloud and say, yo, any data. At which point, in our Finder, oh, thank heavens. Right, not only do the folders reappear, but the Affinity Photo one has the Affinity Photo icon, and the Affinity Designer one has the Affinity Designer icon. Which should mean, if we double click and go into there and find that demo graphic, let's download it. Obviously we now have to download everything because iCloud's got itself giddy. If I double click that, whereas before it opened Photo, woohoo, it opens Designer. It's not pretty. I think the worst thing is the name of the files and folders to delete and the fact you need to reboot. But it solves the problem. And the demo worked. Isn't that amazing, Mike? When I said I'm going to do that demo, I'm going to do it live, he went, please don't. But it worked. So basically what I need to do is that on every machine. So who's tried theirs? Ah, Mike, yes, you've got the problem, haven't you, Mike?
I've got the problem.
Yeah, I said with Mike, leave it alone and I'll have a look at it for you. But I think you might find if you've used both of these for a while that you may have the problem as well. So that was just a quick aside, and yeah, done live, it worked. How amazing is that? Love that, love that, love that. Right, I shall put that one down. Let's put it to sleep because it's making alarming noises. The fans are coming on and all sorts. Right, okay, let's turn that off. Don't need to see that anymore, and let's go back into here. I will make sure that I do a blog post about that so you get the links, the names of the files. But let's on and have a look at Alfred Workflows. We looked at Alfred a couple of weeks back, and that was because Alfred 4 had come out. Then we got a request to look at Alfred Workflows. So I've decided that this will be part 1 of Alfred Workflows, otherwise we're not doing them justice. So you really need to know what they are, how they work, how to create them, and it might be more important than you think as to how to edit them. So you need to let me know what workflows you'd like Alfred to have, because you might find they're already there or you don't need them. But let's have a look at them. Right, first thing to think about, Alfred. Now I'm on version 4 on this machine, which is helpfully opened on the other screen. There we go. I think that's where we left it. I think we left it at that point. So I'll go back up to here. Right, this is the new version, so everything's in a slightly different place. And they've also really beefed up the workflows. But all the workflows I already had worked, and although I can create snazzy new ones and do extra things, I probably want to do similar or the same things. But before you head off into the workflows, I mean, I can show you some workflows, but before you actually start making one, have a serious think about it. Is there an easier or better way to do it? To use the workflow, you will need the Power Pack. So Alfred itself is free for basic use, but they offer a Power Pack here. The Power Pack can be bought in one of 3 ways. Well, 2.5 to be honest. You can buy a license which lets you use it on any Mac that you own. So sensible licensing, we like that. So you can buy it as a one-off purchase for version 4. Or you can become a mega supporter. And a mega supporter means that you have purchased forever, from now until forever, which I did back in version 2. Which meant I got free updates to all the point releases and version 3 and version 4. So if you were a mega supporter, underneath your email address in there, it would say mega supporter. The 0.5 way of doing it is to become a legendary supporter. And what that means is, although you have been a mega supporter and you don't need to pay for it, you have given them more money. And I did explain why I did that, because I was in the middle of doing a job and then Alfred came out and I thought, oh, it'd be a quick update, I'll do that. And then I realised halfway through installing it, it wasn't a quick job. You had to go through a transfer of all your settings. Mike was on waiting to go to bed and I said, well, just a minute, I'll do it. And how many times did I try and start Alfred?
Many.
I said, I'll just open up. Oh, Alfred's, just a minute, Alfred's not ready. And I had to stop and think, how am I going to do this if Alfred isn't there? So I decided at the point that I then went to get my new licence, do you know what? Let me give you money. I haven't given you any money since 2011. Let me give you money. I do not want you disappearing, because if you disappeared, I won't be able to use my Mac. So that's how you license it. And to use the workflows, you're going to need to license it. Right, first off in your generals how you activate Alfred. So I have it running on Command and Space. I know that's the same key as the built-in Spotlight thing, but the reason that I do that is so on any machine, even one that doesn't have Alfred, that does have Spotlight enabled, I'll be able to use the Mac to some degree or another. I did originally have it working on Control and Space years and years ago. Before I used Alfred, I did that. And I ended up changing it back to the Spotlight key. It just makes far more sense. So your mileage may vary, but that's what you need to do. Right, in the workflows, as you can see here, I have got all kinds of workflows. All kinds of workflows. You probably don't need as many as I've got. You may have different ones than I've got. I'm going to choose some odd ones here that I've built and ones that I've downloaded that I use all the time. Whenever I look at my workflows, I actually think, do I really need half of these in here? But there are other ones that I use all the time. Now, before you add a workflow, and I'm just going to show you what a very basic workflow looks like. I have a workflow that if I type DX, it's going to open the Dropbox folder. That's all it does. It opens a folder. And there it is. That's it. You'll also notice DX as another one. If I take the S off, it gives me 2. It opens the Scrivener Dropbox folder. If I use the arrow key to go down. Or I can be more specific than DX by adding the S, and then it will open the Scrivener folder in Dropbox. And there it is. That's that particular folder. That is all it does. All it does. Very, 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 very basic. But it saves me time, and this is how it does it. So I actually wrote these things. Now, did I need to do that? Well, you might say, well, you obviously did, so yes. Yes and no. If I bring Alfred up and I type the letter F and a space, that instigates a folder-only search. So if I were to type in Scrivener, somewhere in here, well, yeah, you see the problem? There's a lot. Why have I got that? Presentations, 88888, don't ask. I have no idea. But if your file system was better organised than mine and you didn't have 3,000 folders called Scrivener, that might work for you. I would struggle to find the right Scrivener folder. So although I can search for a folder, and it will work, let's prove that point. Let's put a new folder on the desktop. And we'll put, what can we make that unique with? How about a date and time? There'll only be one folder called that, hopefully, on my system. So if I go to Alfred and I put F and I paste that in, having a rare old thing, no, can't find it yet. It could be because it's on the desktop and that's in iCloud and it's not synchronized it yet, but generally speaking, that's what you should be able to do with it. So you put in the name of the folder. But as you can see, bit rough around the edges, although you can do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that's why I've created these workflows. They're very basic, but that's why I've done it. Point I'm making here is there could well be a feature in Alfred that you are about to replicate with code and a workflow that you don't need to. So before you head to the workflows, head to the features and have a look at them. I know there's hundreds of them. You've got all of these main categories, and then you can drill down into the categories. You can also extend the categories. So the point I'm making is workflows are grand, they're sexy, and you can say, I can write Alfred Workflows. But actually, you might not need to. It depends what it is you're trying to do. So the first option in here is the default results. And this is enabling you to specify the search scope, what to exclude, what to include, and any extras that you want. And you'll notice mine's incredibly basic. I just have the preferences and that's it. It looks through the apps, it looks through the preferences. The more you extend this by including extra things in it, the slower Alfred will run. So just be aware of that. So this is the very, very basic level with this. And I tend to leave that as it is. I haven't made any changes to that. It's things in the other options like web searches where you can do this. So this is your file search. So if you're looking for files, for instance, if I had a file, instead of typing F for folder, I can put that and then it says open file. So if I had a file, I'm trying to think, what have I got? I've got Queen Special. There you go. There's all my Queen Specials. There's the artwork for it. Here's the folder for it. There's other files. So I can actually search for specific files. Is that the best way to do it? Heck no. No. Because I can tell you by looking at that, I haven't got them all. No way has that brought up every file I've got called Queen Special. They're not in any particular order. And to try and find out where they are, I have to look at this tiny little thing here. All the little text underneath. Is there a better way to do that? Yeah. Open up Whodaspot or Howdaspot and put in there Queen Special. If I'm looking for a folder, specify, so I can get very specific in here, specify a folder, call Queen Special, where is it? There you go. I've got quite a few of them. So I've got my files, which are my Hindenburg things. I've got backups, so that's on a backup drive. That's on my Google Drive, and these are in my music folder. And that's a better way of doing it. So all I'm saying is, well before you think about workflows, is that the right thing to do? Is a workflow the right thing to do? There's actions that you can perform. Now, this is something that I have leveraged in a workflow. So I will show you that. But what it's saying here is actions. Now let me know in the chat, do you use Alfred? Do you use actions? You any idea what we're talking about here, what's going on? Right, let me show you that problem that I had. So I'm in my Finder and I was in iCloud. I don't believe this, Mike. I've rebooted this machine and now my Affinity Designer's not working again. Oh, for the love of all that's sacred, Apple. It will be the death of me. What will happen if I open that? So it's all right until you reboot. This could be a long job. Just don't reboot. Because I fixed that one and it worked. Right, so I've got a problem with that. I think I'm going to have to live with it at this rate. I will attempt to redo it again when Affinity Publisher is released. But obviously I've got a problem. So this is how I fix it. Because I'm in my Finder and I want that file to open with Designer. Well, obviously, I can right-click and say Open with Designer. I could do that. But I'm not a mouse person, I'm a keyboard person. Don't like to do that. If I double tap, so I select the file, which I can do by going up and down, double tap Control, and it brings up Alfred. And if you look at the bottom of the Alfred option, I can just start typing AAFF and it opens in Affinity Designer. And it will. I make extensive use of that because Apple can't get their iCloud stuff together. So that's one thing that I use that for. But I'm using that in conjunction with a workflow. So it's a workflow that's giving me the ability to solve a problem that Apple have caused. And you'll be all right as long as you don't reboot. Fix it, don't reboot. Right, the ones that people tend to think about making workflows for are these two. Web searches and web bookmarks. Okay, so the web searches are, now Jonathan, I know you're with us. You were talking about Google services. Were you aware that you've already got that in the web search? Did you want something different than that? Because if you look what you've got in here, the ones at the top I've built. There's a little cog next to custom. But built in from here down are all this lot, and you can enable or disable them. So you'll see I've got Yahoo, yeah, not happening. Ask, don't use it. What else have I disabled? Wolfram, whatever that is, no idea. Yubnub, no idea. The weather and Rotten Tomatoes. So they're disabled. Now, I don't know what Yubnub is, so I won't be using it. I do use DuckDuckGo though, and I don't really search Pinterest. Don't ever search half of these, to be honest. So I could actually take the tick out of these if I'm never going to use them. What's more useful, especially in relation to the Google stuff Jonathan's talking about, you can type, these are your keywords: Google, Lucky, Images, Maps, Gmail, Drive. All of those, with the instructions here, what it's going to tell you, and they're already enabled, means that you can go search Google. So if I bring Alfred up and I type goo, obviously it's going to, I can understand you might miss it because you look at that and you think it's not there. No, because you've got Chrome and you've got GoodNotes. I've got another version of GoodNotes, I've got Google Drive. I've actually got Google Drive file stream installed as well. So the sheer amount of apps I've got installed are masking the fact that I can actually search Google from here by typing Google. See the bottom one? Search Google for. So I can do that, and I've now filtered it down to Google. And if I do that, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. But we'll do it anyway. There we go. No, none of those are me. That one's me. The one with the star. There we go. So you can actually search Google from there. Now, you could also, as it says in there, there's 2 for drives. Open Drive or Search Drive? Let's try that one. So if I type Drive, again, it's masked off. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking pCloud, Expand Drive, Google Drive File Stream. I'm blinded. I can't see it. But if you look at number 8, I've got 6 on 7 that say Open Google Drive. No idea why I've got to. Oh, I do know why I've got to. Hoisted by my own petard, I found a plugin that Jonathan may or may not want to use, and that's given me 2 stuff. But down the bottom, I want to search Google Drive. So by doing Command and 8 or moving down and pressing Enter, I've now got rid of everything else. It's out of the way. And I am now tunnelling straight through to Drive, where hopefully I have a file called Queen Special. And what that will do is open it up in the browser. It takes me through to Drive. And there they are. There's loads of them. Right, that's the script. There's the graphics. There's the folder. There's my Hindenburg file. That was my song timings. And these are the audio recordings. So I wanted the folder. Let's open the folder. There you go, straight there. I don't use that, I'll be honest. But the reason that I don't use it, I would use it if I had the need to use it, but I have Google Drive file stream. So if I open it up, what you're looking at there is my Google Drive. It just looks like it's mounted locally. I go into my projects, I go into radio production, and there is the Queen Special, and that was the folder we were looking at. There they are. The scripts, the timings, the edits, and the bounces. There they are. So the reason I don't use that in Alfred is because I'm working local. But you asked about Gmail and the services and maps and stuff, and yes, you can do that. So maps, search Google Maps for, well, where else would we go? Bramley Farm. So bring that up, get Firefox, bring that over here, and there's Bramley Farm. Look at that, 6-minute drive from home. But you know what? It's even better than that. Let me zoom in and show you. Well, zoom out actually. Right, we live over here, up this end here, the other side of the park. So obviously we have to come out of home and go down here and up there and along the main road, all the way up to there, which is my old college, all the way down here, through the new housing estate, round there, over the bridge and down there. 6-minute drive, probably take us about 15 knowing the traffic, but the map, look at the map. Running right next door to the institution that is Bramley Farm, we have the green line. Follow the green line. It's straight. Never mind this windy, bendy road that's about 2 miles long. Straight line. Follow the straight line. It goes over the brook. Maya used to love the brook. Up there to the park. Through the park. And we're home. We're home. Look, there's home. It's amazing. Oh, fabulous. So that was searching for Google Maps straight from Alfred. So that's not actually something that you would need to create a workflow for. Now, the reason that I'm taking the time and showing you this is because you literally might not need a workflow. It depends what you want to do. I have shown you before that I've made my own searches. So if ever I'm about to buy something, I search App Shopper. And I do that with AS, press space, and then type the name of the app. Now, one app that we will be looking at is DJ Pro 2. I'm becoming a radio DJ. It's frightening. Right, if I do that, it will search for it and it will open up App Shopper and it will hopefully find the app. Now, I know I had problems with that one, but it's in there somewhere. There was quite a few. I think it looked for 2 rather than DJ, but it does work, honestly. Let me try another one. No point. They need to be in the App Store. What's in the App Store, Mike? Oh, let's try Final Cut. Why not? There we go, Final Cut Pro. Good grief, I'm glad I didn't pay that for it. There we go. So it enables me to not only check the price, which obviously I could do in the App Store, but check the price over here. I can look at the history of it. Now the price of that says new app, $2.99. It was, but I did not pay that for it. I vaguely remember it being about £40. So if an app has changed price a lot, so let's try PDF Expert being on offer. Is that one word or 2? There we go. I think it's both of those, isn't it? So that one's $9.99, but look at the history. It's been $4.99. And maybe if we scroll back, yep, been on offer again, on offer again. So if you see that at £4.99, snatch the hand off, because it's never been cheaper than £4.99. So I love that for the pricing history. I could have written a workflow, but there's no need. There's no need because you've got this option for web searches. So first of all, when it comes to workflows, define what it is you want to do and look and see if Alfred does it already. It could well do, because start off in the features and check in there. If it doesn't, the one I coded a while back, the Pixabay one. So I did that one. Yeah, edit custom search. Right, and what I did was, if you look at this syntax here, I know we'll make one for Envato elements. There's a good thing. We'll do that first and then we'll look at the workflows. Right, I need that little bit there is what I need. So I'll go and get Envato elements. So let's go up here and go to elements. Right. And let's say I'm doing a search for viewfinder, which you've already seen me do. Now, I'm not suggesting you make a workflow that finds that all the time. That's not going to do you no good. Today I'm looking for viewfinder. Tomorrow I'm looking for strawberries. So look at the URL. That's the word, the keyword I typed in. Okay. Take the whole of that and get rid of it. Down here, add a custom search. What's the search URL? Well, it's that. Apart from, I don't want that. Now, it gives you instructions here, but let me shortcut that for you. Basically, it's curly brackets. Curly brackets, type the word query, finish the curly brackets. And give it a title, Envato elements, and give it a keyword. Oh, how about EE, Envato elements? Right. And that should do. Obviously, we'd put an icon in there, but we haven't got the time to piddle. But we would. Okay, so save that, and that will add that there. At that point, I can go in and type EE. Search Envato elements. And let's say we want strawberry. Do a search. It comes back, hopefully, strawberries. It's that fast. So I don't need to make a workflow. Utilise the features that Alfred already has way before you start making workflows, because you'll probably find a good 50% of what you want to do, you can do another way. If you don't want some of these things, obviously, like I'm never going to rely on an Apple map. Take the tick out of the box. Not happening. You've then got an integration with web bookmarks. Now, it can only integrate with two browsers, Safari or Chrome. But basically what it will do is it will hook into your bookmarks and you could search Alfred for a bookmark that you've created. So if you didn't want to make web searches in here, if it was just URLs you wanted, instead of adding them and doing a workflow, you could actually just hook them into your browser bookmarks. I don't do that. Again, I don't want Alfred to slow down. It's not worth it to me. Don't know if you knew, but if I want to go find a website, instead of thinking, oh, I need to open Google Chrome or I need to open Firefox and then wait, etc., you don't need to do that. So I'll get Firefox up only so it's in the right place. There it is. And now I'm hiding it. Right, instead of doing all of that, what if you just typed in a website address and pressed enter? That will get you there as well. Now, you might have thought that was a bit quick. How did you type MacBites that fast? I have an autocorrect in Typinator for MacBites. If I type section key MB and then press enter, it autocorrects it to MacBites. The reason I do that is so it doesn't matter if I'm in Firefox, Chrome, Canary, Opera, Vivaldi, or Alfred. I have one shortcut key for MacBites and boom, I'm there. Again, that's not relying on Alfred. So don't rely on Alfred if you don't have to rely on Alfred. So I have that turned off. And again, go through all of these before you head to the workflow for the things it can't do, which are things like this. So I'll show you what I did with this one, and I will make one for another folder. Right, all I did with this one you need to add on here when you're building a workflow. I would suggest if you're going to do a workflow that you click on the plus at the bottom and you have a look at the getting started ones. Just add one of these and go through them all. So say you want a keyword that does something. Click on that and it will build one and it will talk you through it. Keywords are a commonly used and most useful way of launching actions. Set a keyword, connect it to the actions, and you're good to go. You type the keyword into Alfred. You type in any variable it needs, so it calls it input text. But that was the bit where I typed strawberry, not viewfinder, and you'll be on your way to boosting your productivity. So it actually tells you here, and you can use that, you can go through it. What do you want to happen? What's the keyword you want? And it gives you instructions at the bottom of what to do. So you would double click on it and you would give it a keyword. You would then give it an action, which is over here. So do go through these because that's how you'll learn. But if we look at this Dropbox one to actually do something completely useful. So I actually have more than one cloud service. I've got pCloud. Now what happens if I type pCloud? There's pCloud Drive, but it's already running. It's not actually doing anything. It's not opening up my pCloud folder. My pCloud folder is in here somewhere. It's there. There's the drive. So what if I wanted to go there and I wanted it to open that folder? Actually, with pCloud, it's a bit tricky. I'll pick something easier. I'll pick my recordings folder or something. One of my... Oh, I've got Queen Specials in here as well. MacBites Bounces. There's a nice folder for you. I'll pick that one. Let's try and get to that one. All you need to do is add a keyword. So up here, down here, these are workflows. You're adding new workflows. We are now working within a workflow and we're going to try and add a bit that opens up the MacBites Bounces folder. That's what we want to do. So up here, we can add things in here for a start. So we need in there a trigger or an input. We need some way of telling it what to do. Well, we want to type something, so it's a keyword. So you've got either a trigger, which is when you do something, you want something to happen, or an input where it gets a keyword or a file or a dictionary word or something like that. And we want a keyword, so we'll add that there. Well, we want it to open MacBites Bounces. So let's call it MacBites Bounces, MBB. Right, do we need a space and an argument? No, we don't. We just want it to open a folder, so we don't need any of that. You need to give it a title. So let's put MacBites Bounces. Bounces, if you're wondering, are exports from an audio application. So show the MacBites Bounces folder. You can add an icon if you want. So if you've got a MacBites icon, you could add that. Haven't got one to hand, naughty me. What could I do? Let me see if I can easily get you one. MacBites. Oh, amazing. It's the old one, but never mind. Now, notice what I did there. Icon, keyword, MacBites, variable. I can extract the icon from anything on my system with an Alfred Workflow. That's one of the ones I'm going to show you next week. But just by doing that, I get my icon at the top and I can drag and drop that in there. Just to prove the point, icon. I would say give me an app, but it'll take that long with the delay we've got. I'll choose an app. You choose an app, Mike. Give me an app. He's going to say Excel.
Excel.
Excel, just for a change. There you go. I type Excel. It comes up with two. Got the real Excel or the templates. Do that. Alfred stuff. I get icons. I use that all the time. I can't tell you how often I use that because this is the way I get the icons for all of the work that I do. So I'm going to save that. I've got my keyword. Awesome. But it's not doing anything. So I need one of these, which is a script. So this time I need it to do something. What do I want it to do? Well, it could be open a file. It could be launch an app or files or whatever. But I've actually done that with an Apple script. Now, it needs a script, and I don't know what that is, and I don't care. I'm just going to save that. because before I get that far, I need to grab this little thing here and connect it to that. Or do I? I probably need to connect that one to that one. So just make sure it's the right way round. I put something in the keyword and then it's going to do something. And the cheating way to do it is go and get the code. So if I take that bit of code, it won't be right, but I'll be able to edit it and put it in the middle. And that is actually what I did. In fact, you know, I'm just going to do a double check. Yeah, I did. That's it. Right, so I will put that in there. I'll give it a bit of a nice spacing. So the first and the last line are required for Alfred. But this bit here that it's talking about, this bit in the middle, I just got that off the web and edited it. It's looking for the home folder. That's fine. And then from the home folder, it's finding Dropbox. So what we need to do is make sure we know that folder, which was MacBites Bounces, wasn't it? Where is it? We need to know exactly where it is. And it's there. So where is that? Well, it's in Documents Local. So instead of Dropbox, no, it's Documents Local. And then where is it? Inside Documents Local. It's then in MacBites Bounces inside there. So whereas that one says apps, change that to bounces. That's it. Should be done. That's all we need to do. Just give it a path. So let's crank up Alfred. Let's type MBB, MacBites Bounces. And it has opened it up. No, it doesn't look like it has. It's done it off screen. There they are. There are reintroductions to episodes of MacBites. Oh yes, lady has been busy. So it works. Simple as that. Now, I don't just have 3 of those. I have hundreds of those. I have one called Navigation. Look at them all. Each one opens up a different folder, in a different place, in a different way. And you can put them all in one workflow. You do not have to have separate workflows for all of those. But they all do the same thing. They just go to different folders. You can see each one's got an individual icon. So I download TV programs and they're in my TV folder. That is my Documents screen captures, and this one is my Google Drive screen captures, the ones I send up to Google Drive. That one opens a folder with all of my presentations in it. So each one of these does exactly the same job, it just does it with a different folder. So that's something that you do need a workflow for. Now I'll just show you before we wrap up part 1. Let's get that icon one. So I'll type the word icon, and you can see it's quite complicated. I have no idea how that works, and I don't care. Basically, there's a file action as well. There's notifications and all kinds of stuff here. But basically what this script will do is extract, using the shell, the icon. And I downloaded that and installed it. I have written other ones, but that one, I read what it did and I thought, oh, that would save me such a ton of time. And I don't think I've even updated it. It's just carried on working for ages and ages and ages. It says it does it from apps from the App Store, but actually it works on apps that I've installed manually, like Microsoft Office. I will show you next time where to get that one from. I will show you the ones that I have got installed that do add to it. But just before we finish with this one, I'll show you why it matters. I use an app called Better Zip. So I have a Better Zip one installed. I also have this shorten thing, right? Where it's shorten. Now, I could have, with those, I could have something as a keyword. So what was the first one I said? Losing the will to live here. The zip one, right. If I had a URL, so let's get a URL. Let's get our browser up and we will copy a URL. So MacBites, and hide it. Imagine you've got this huge long URL on your clipboard and you want to shorten it so you can put it on Twitter. You could go to Alfred and you can type shorten. I didn't even paste the URL in. I just pressed enter. If I go here and I paste that in, I get a bit.ly link. I press enter. It goes to MacBites eventually. There we go. Now, why didn't I call it bit.ly? Who's still awake? Why didn't I call it bit.ly? There's a reason for that. I will show, while you're thinking about it and you're letting me know, I will show you this icon. And I will show you, if I use that thing that we've seen, which is the double tap, which brings up Alfred, there's lots of things I can do with that in there. I can open it with something, I can reveal it in the Finder, I can send an email, I can copy it, move it, delete it, I can do all kinds of things with it. Lots of things I can mark it in there. You will notice there's something else I can do with it, which is I want to make a zip file. So if I type COM for compress, that's exactly what it will do. I'll choose that one and it will create. Yes. Okay, where you go. Right, the reason it opened that up and asked for all of this business, which it doesn't usually do, is because it needed authorising. So we'll let it strut its stuff and close it down. And now it's been sorted. Let's try it again. Double tap the control key, type compress, do that. And now it's been authorised, it will just do it. Why don't I have better zip? Is it your own short URL? It is, Jonathan, it is. But the reason that I have it where I just type shorten, not bit.ly, is what if bit.ly went bust? And I've been using bit.ly for 8 years, and in my brain, I don't want to shorten a URL, I want to bit.ly it. I'd have to learn a new keyword. If I make the keyword generic, doesn't matter what service I use, I redesign the workflow and it carries on working. So you'll notice when I made those zip files, I didn't say better zip it. I said compress it, and it doesn't matter what application I have Alfred hooked up to do, it will still work. So with those thoughts in mind, we will return to this next week. But last thing before we go, you know that I had, well, you've probably seen it in an email. I got commissioned to do a Queen special this week, and it was way more difficult than I thought. So I thought I'd let you see the file behind the scenes. If you want to hear said Queen special, Mike will sort you out later with that, won't you, Mike? Basically tomorrow night, 7:10.
Yeah.
7:10 tomorrow night,
Ish.
brooklands196.com. This is how it came about. We needed the audio files from Queen, Spotify is your friend. We took those into Audio Hijack. Audio Hijack is also your friend. And then I had a script that I wrote, and I had a spreadsheet to track how long the show was going. And then the whole lot went into Hindenburg. So let's have a quick shufty at that. A quick shufty. Right, how am I going to get there quickly? Let's open up a Finder and let's go to my drive, and it's in projects, it's in radio production, it's in the Queen special. So first thing I needed was the music. That's not going to work actually, is it, Mike? I'm going to need to go to Drive. Well, you're not actually going to see it. So let's go to drive.google.com and let's do a recent. And hopefully the folder is recent. Tell me you're recent. There we go. Song timings. So I recorded all of these songs. You'll notice they're now in alphabetical order. That was a bit of Mike. What I needed with this was to know how long the show would be if I included X number of songs. So this says include, and there's a tick. If I included everything, it'd be 2 hours 28 long. Well, that's no good. It was supposed to be 90 minutes. So I started to have to take things out. Yeah, I think I took all of these out. We did do Under Pressure. Didn't do Too Much Love Will Kill You. Yeah, did those. So now I'm down to 2 hours 6. So basically I worked through these. I didn't do I Want to Break Free, did I? Ooh, scope for another Queen special there. Did do all of those. So I took out basically what I didn't need. I only did one version of that. We didn't do Barcelona. Did do Bow Rap. And I created this spreadsheet. Mike needed to finesse it slightly. I got it down to about, well, I must have taken more out than that. I don't know which ones I didn't use. But that was what I did to calculate the time. So that bit was simple, wasn't it? That wasn't bad at all. And then in here, so let's do a search for Queen Special. Right, script. Created the script. Yeah, that was tough. That's harder than you think, you know. 12-page script. There you go. That was the script. I know it all sounds so off the cuff, doesn't it? But it needs timing before it's actually recorded. So that was the script. And then it was a case of going in my favourite audio editor, which is Hindenburg. And I will show you what that looks like. Look, there's a naked MacBites. And it is. Branding overlays, sound effects. Me, Mike, Siri, Lady Siri. Interviews. Not had an interview for a while. Just thought I'd mention that. If anybody's out there fancies sending in an audio file, feel free. So that's a naked MacBite. But recent sessions, Queen Special. That's what the Queen Special looked like in the edit. Can I play you a bit of that? Not at the moment and expect you to hear it. You need to listen live tomorrow night, 7:10. The news is on first, you see. That's Mike. It's all very interesting, but I'm far more interesting. So what I've done with that is I've bedded some underneath, and that's the introduction to the show. And I will scrunch it up and you can see it all. Music tracks, primary music tracks on the primary music tracks. Secondary tracks, which is this one here. And the reason for that, why would I do that? I needed to merge one track with another, but they overlay each other. So they needed to be on separate tracks. That's why. There's no Siri on there, was there, Mike? No. But the beauty of Hindenburg for doing something like this, because it's not a music editor. Hindenburg is for the spoken word. So why would I edit a music show with it? Well, I didn't need any special effects on the music. What I did need was management to within an inch of its life. So over on the right-hand side, there is what's normally called a bin. But in here is called the clipboard. And in it are the individual pieces of audio, all the tracks. So I started with Radio Gaga, I went through Hammer to Fall, Football Fight, Flash, and so forth. These were the ones I used. These were my segues between them. This was admin, so that's a little bit at the end. And these were the songs I didn't use. You should be able to see that these are a brighter white than all of the others. That's my indication. These are all included on the timeline, but these weren't. And that is the Queen Special. It is 1 hour, 29 minutes, 13 seconds of fabulous, fabulous Queen songs, interspersed with interesting tidbits. Hopefully Jane's still with us. I'm saying you're still awake. Did you find the tidbits interesting? We've had good feedback about it from people who listen to Brooklyn's 196. Which is our local group of friends and worldwide. So, yeah, really enjoyed putting that together. Mike's threatening to do one. And we've got another Queen tribute coming up in August. So I've already been requested to do another one. And there's so many fabulous Queen songs. And I this is the one time I wish I was a little bit older. I was a little bit young to appreciate Queen at the time, but boy, I appreciate them now. So I thought I'd show you behind the scenes of that. So let's get back in and see what we've got next week. Oh, unboxing. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny unboxing. But we have to have an obligatory unboxing, don't we? So let me get out and show you what I've got for you, which is ever so tiny. But we did talk about it. And apparently you were very interested. So let me get my camera back up. Let's get that much bigger than that. It's 45p. Graham, you can afford this. This is 45p. Let me get a light on so we can see what we're doing. It's pitch black. Right, there we go. Whee! We have light. We just need scissors now. Tidied up. It's no good when I tidy up. Right, do you remember we talked about these pencil cases? These I put cables in. They are fantastic. They were 15p from Morrison's. So they were fantastic. Can't say fairer than 15p, can you? Are they waterproof? Yep, they're waterproof as well for that. Amazing. The problem was when you look at the little zippy thing, it's very short. So I showed you that I'd done that. I'd added a toggle. And you were like, where did you get those toggles from? I got emails. Where do you get the toggles from? The toggles are 45 pence for 10. And hopefully that's what's in here. So they're 4.5 pence each. It just takes about 3 weeks for them to get here from China. These ones that I've ordered are slightly different. So let's get them on top of my laptop. There they are. These ones have got the little black bit on, but they've also got a red bit on. There we go. So all you need to do is grab said pencil case and push that bit through. Get that in there. Pull that. I think actually have I got that the right way up? Sort it out. Push that through there. So much easier when you don't have to talk about it. There you go. And that's it. So you don't have to sew it, stitch it, anything else like that. Just hook it through, and that's much easier to work with. I ordered 10, as I told you the first time. And I ordered another 10 before the first 10 arrived, because I could see uses for this. But then, when the first 10 arrived, I'd used the lot. I'd put them on all sorts and I'd use the lot. Be careful, don't order more than 10. If you order more than 10, they slap about 17 quid postage on it. Order them 10 at a time. If you want different colours like that, pro tip, order the colours randomly as well, and that way you know which has arrived and which hasn't. No, the postage isn't $4.99, but the postage is more than that if you order 2. It's ridiculous. But I think I've got 50 or 60 of these now. And if I've got a cable bag, they go on it. If I've got a zip on a coat, they go on it. You name it, they go on it. And they're brilliant. I've not even had one snap yet, touch wood. So just buy them in 10s. Don't buy them in more than 10s. I'm sorry the unboxing's rather inexpensive this week, but I'm sure I'll find something that's more expensive next week. But at least that one's really useful. I put them on makeup cases, purses. They're just fantastic. I don't want something now that hasn't got one on. It's unbelievable. And these at 15p can't be beaten either. They were on offer, and I assumed they were about 80 odd p, reduced like half price. And when I got them to the till, they were 15 pence each, and I couldn't believe it. So I don't know if that's a long-term thing or not. But there you go. Little unboxing, tiny unboxing. We did have more microphones arrive, so they're kicking around somewhere. There they are. But I had to, if you've not seen the microphones before, this is the microphones that we're using at the moment. So let's put those there. I had to unbox these. I had to make sure they were all okay. So they've all been tested, and they are. These are the most amazing good quality. You're listening to them right now. And inexpensive with it. There we go. So they arrived this week as well. So there are spare ones, because these we bought some of these as a spare, which was a grand idea. And then we installed them as a backup because we had a calamity with the last MacBites. So I said to Mike, I'm just going to order some more. But these are so inexpensive. We don't mind taking them out onto OBs, and if they get damaged. These are £8 each. They are unbelievable quality for £8 each. They really are. So we take them everywhere and don't worry if they end up in somebody's beer. Not a problem. So we ordered some more. These are tricky. They're very inexpensive from Amazon. But if Amazon are out of stock, which sometimes they are, the price shoots up, seriously, to like £160. I mean, I'm not surprised. They're fantastic quality. The case is amazing quality. That's really heavy. And they work incredibly well. But Amazon just have them very inexpensively, and everybody else charges an arm and a leg. So I'll put the links for that. We need to get show notes together, don't we, Mike?
We do.
We do. And I'll put the links for that in there. So that was a little baby unboxing. A baby unboxing. Right, we're done. Ooh, bedtime. Bedtime. So that was what they were. That's how I use them on my zip stuff and everything. And there they are, 45p each. Yeah, they do take 2 to 3 days to dispatch, but it does say free delivery, Graham. Honestly, none of this $4.99 thing. Honestly, they were 45p and they were great. Right, one thing you need to know before we go. Update on Finished Publisher. It's out next week. It's the 3rd part of their trilogy. There is currently 30% off pre-orders for beta testers. So that is going off on the 19th, which is Wednesday. So you need to have it sorted by Wednesday if you are a beta tester. If you are not a beta tester, you can still get a bargain. You need to order it with 20% off. It's worth it, trust me, even if you've never used DTP. You can't say fairer than $38.99 for an amazing application. Beta testers are getting their hands on it on the 19th of June. I believe everybody else is getting it on the 20th of June. Which is handy, because at 8 p.m. on the 20th of June, I'm going live on YouTube with a full session on it. So be there. We will send an email out and it will go out on the channel, so you should get notified. If you've clicked the notify button on the channel, you will get notified of that. Haven't even created the live event yet, but I will do that tomorrow, although it's Father's Day and we're rather over-endowed with fathers at the minute, aren't we? Long story. Tell you about that at another time. But I will create that and it will be Thursday night. But guess what? Mike's not going to be here. So I want all of you guys here to keep me company because he's mogging off for the night. Will there be a special price on the App Store? Historically, there has been. They usually give you the 20% off. It's usually on, they say, for a few days. They tend to leave it a week and then give you a couple of extra days. But to be honest with you, if you can get the thing from the App Store and you want it from the App Store, do it. Do it. What's going on here with the illegality? Oh, licensed and legal. We are licensed and legal with our radio station. I should have mentioned that, which is why we can't make that Queen special available on demand, unfortunately. The stuff we do, which is news programmes and current affairs and interesting titbitty things, we can make available on demand. But if it's got music in it that you can control, music the listener can control, if you can pause it and move it on, we can't put it out. That's the rule. But yes, we are all legal with that. So with your App Store stuff, if you want it from the App Store, which gives you the benefit of not juggling serial numbers, there will be a special offer, would be my advice. So good luck with that. As I say, beta testers are guaranteed 4 p.m. on the 19th. Affinity are doing a session at 6 p.m. UK time on the Wednesday, the 19th, and I'm doing mine the day after. So you've all got a chance to get your hands on it. I have done a session already on it, but there's been a lot of changes in the beta. So we'll look at all of the new stuff and we'll use different examples. Can't say fairer than that. And we'll be back, as if one night in the week isn't enough. We'll be back on the Friday with an After Hours where we've got part 2 of Alfred and Alfred's Workflows. And other things, which we haven't actually decided, have we?
No.
So, you know what that means, don't you? That gives you opportunity to get on to me and say, I want. And I might do it, like this week. Carl wanted to know what was new in Affinity. And even though he's not here because he's off on his jolly, we've done it. And he's going to watch on catch up. And Jonathan's halfway through what he may or may not need in terms of Alfred Workflows. So, you send in what you want, and that's what we'll do. So, what are we going to do now, Mike?
Go and get something to eat.
Yes! We've got some strawberries. Well, we did have. Do you think they're okay?
They should be okay.
They should be okay. We've got grapes. We've got lots of fruit. It hasn't exactly been the healthiest week, has it? Despite me reaching my 1,000. This was because of the cake, the cuppa and a cake. What I should say with Bramley Farm was they were amazing. The cuppa and a cake is a cuppa, a tea or a coffee. Do they do hot chocolate with that? Or is it just tea and coffee?
It's just tea and coffee.
Just tea and coffee and the cake for $4.99. Now, bearing in mind the cake is usually £4.60, that means you're getting your drink for 30p, which is good value. Thing was, because there were so many of us, we said expect 20, but there was actually 25. And last time we took 36, so they know what we're like. We turn up mob-handed. They rang us and said, we're going to do the tea and coffee a bit different. We're going to give you your own area and your own machine. And that way you can have free top-ups. And they let us top up free for 4 hours. It was fabulous. What were we like? Never drunk so much tea in my life. Loved it. So Graham's got a fruit salad and a cherry bakewell. You and your cherry bakewells. Whenever I see a cherry bakewell, Graham, I think of you. Well, we've got fresh fruit salad, but I'm not risking the nuts. Not after all I've eaten this week, no. To get back on the wagon. So no nuts tonight, but I'm thinking of fruit salad and some strawberries. That's what I'm going to do. Right, well, it's late, isn't it? So you better head off. You better all head off. But don't forget, we want to hear what you want us to cover. Yes, absolutely. You've got to let us know what you want us to cover. And if there's anything you think I could unbox, maybe we could persuade Mike I need to unbox an Apple monitor. Just a thought. Do you know that Apple monitor costs more than my car? Now, I will admit I've had my car for 19 years, but that's not the point.
Paul does coffee and cake for £2, €2.
Oh, wow. Paul, I'm on my way. Are the cakes as big as Bramley Farm? In fact, I could bring a few with me. What's our record for events this year?
36.
No, not at Bramley Farm. It's 64.
That's 60.
We
yeah.
had 64 last weekend at the Italian. We rented out a whole restaurant in Bruntwood Park, which is in
Cheadle.
Don't be silly, it's only 6:30. It's not here. It's 11:25. It's in Cheadle. Bruntwood Park's in Cheadle, and there's a huge hotel right in the middle of it. Do a Google Maps and have a look at the photos. And at the back of the hotel, there's a restaurant come ice cream parlour thing called the Vinery. And they're only open during the day, but what they do is open in the evening if you want to hire the place. So we hired the entire place, filled it to the rafters with 64 people and 2 accordionists, don't ask, and danced the night away. We had a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous time. So that was last weekend. Queen gig this weekend. What's next weekend? Rest next weekend.
Yeah.
Before the dizzying heights of the weekend after, when we've not got a second to move, where we've got the 80s Fest, which is a local festival of 80s music, and another big do. Busy, 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 busy. What can I say? Oh, midnight. 24 minutes past in Vienna. I bet it's lovely in Vienna. Do you know it's not stopped raining here? I bet it's raining where you are, isn't it, Jane? And I'm reckoning Graham's got a bit of rough weather as well. It literally has not stopped raining here for the whole of June. But when we went away in February, it was fabulous. And we were saying this weather's beautiful. The temperature was just right. The sun was shining. It was amazing. But, if you miss that day in February, that's the English summer gone. So I think we've got motorways washed away. We've got that much water. I don't know why they don't just store it in the reservoirs, because I guarantee you 2 sunny days and we'll be on hosepipe restrictions. We just can't seem to get it right in this country. But at the moment, it's raining, which is a bit of a problem given where we're going in a couple of weeks. But I'll tell you about that next week. Or you'll have MacBites overload. Not that that's possible, but you never know. Right, so we are heading off to have something to eat. I'm having fruit. Are you having fruit?
Yes.
We're both having fruit. And we will both. Well, I will certainly see you next time. So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
We will both see you next time. Thank you so much for being with us. It would not be the same without you. And if you want to hear more of me, and hey, who doesn't? Steady on, not all at once. Then listen to the Queen special tomorrow night. That's UK time, 7:10. Yes, 7:10 on brooklands196.com. Other than that, we'll see you next time, which will be Thursday if you're joining us for Affinity Publisher, and Friday if you're not. Night, guys.